Chapter 1. Note, the plot setting does not follow Bo. Konoha, outside the gate, despair. Clatter. The sound of footsteps came slowly, one step at a time, not far away. Step by step, he walked closer to the gate of Konoha. But see, it was a tall figure wearing red armor, black ninja boots, black gloves, and with long flowing hair that reached his waist. If the first Hokage Senju Hashirama was here, he would definitely recognize the figure of his former best friend. But, Senju Hashirama is dead, so at this moment no one can recognize this figure in red armor. Who is it? Tadada, the tall figure, was still slowly walking towards the gate of Konoha from the distance, step by step. During this time, the gentle breeze continued to slowly blow the long, black, fluffy hair, making the long hair sway in the wind. It seemed to foreshadow that what was going to happen next would break all the peace of the past few decades. Wait, who are you? You're not from Konoha, right? Please register your personal information. When the tall figure in red armor finally arrived at the gate of Konoha, the two great gate gods of Konoha, Gang Zitai and Shenyu Izumo. To this, oh! The tall figure in red armor lowered his head slightly with a gloomy look, and after hearing their words, he sneered contemptuously. Then, under the somewhat puzzled gazes of Gang Zisha and Shenyu Chuiyun, clang! The other party raised his head slightly, and instantly revealed a pair of 3 Magatama scarlet pupils. In an instant. The moment they came into contact with that pair of scarlet eyes, Gang Zisha and Shenyu Chuiyun immediately seemed to be stunned. All of a sudden, everyone was stunned on the spot. Tadada, the figure in red armor, ignored the two door gods. He continued to walk towards Konoha and the village step by step without any hurry or haste. After he completely entered Konoha, the two people behind him just woke up as if they had just woken up from a dream. Then, how did we get out? Gang Zisha and Shenyu Chuiyun looked at each other in confusion. They all looked confused. Obviously, the two of them had completely forgotten what had just happened. So, they also don't know whether there are any registered people who have entered Konoha. Now, it seemed to be noon, time for people to have lunch. It can be seen that in Konoha, there are quite a few diners seated in the barbecue restaurants and other restaurants at this moment. Outside the store, civilians and ninjas were coming and going. It symbolizes the prosperity of Konoha. But, in this prosperous scene, there was a lonely and cold figure, walking slowly step by step on the wide road. During this time, his deep black pupils observed the comings and goings of people around him and the prosperity of Konoha as a whole, intentionally or unintentionally. He was the man in red armor who just came in from outside the Konoha gate. At this moment, he has already arrived in Konoha village. Then, looking at the scenes around him, oh! It's such a familiar yet strange place. Chen Yiban looked at the scene that appeared in his memory and now appeared in front of him. He couldn't help but sigh out loud with a slight smile. Chen Yiban, originally, he was from another world. Born in an orphanage, with the help of caring people in the society. He studied till high school. But he was really not good at studying, so he dropped out before finishing high school and went out to make a living in society. But how can you find a good job if you haven't even finished high school? In the few years after that world, Chen Yiban gloriously became a delivery man serving the people. And the reason why he appeared in this world at this moment and even became a powerful being. It was because while he was delivering the food, he was looking at his phone and not paying attention to the passing vehicles, which led to a serious car accident. Chen Yiban died in a car accident, but was accidentally tied to an incredible and mysterious thing called the achievement sign-in system. Before the half-dead Chen Yiban could figure out what was going on, the sign-in system directly performed the first sign-in for him for free. But unexpectedly signed in, founded Konoha.Uchiha combat power template. Since Chen Yiban was dying at the time, he could not answer anything. Therefore, the system directly applied the combat power template of founder of Konoha, Uchiha Madara, to him. Even Chen Yiban's appearance was transformed into that of Uchiha Madara. Finally, he brought the already dead Chen Yiban from his original world to this ninja world. In this way. This is why Chen Yiban was standing on the bustling streets of Konoha, watching people coming and going. Period. In fact, Chen Yiban doesn't care who he becomes. It was this power that surprised Chen Yiban after he woke up and understood everything. Chen Yiban spent a few days taking in the extra memories and combat experiences in his mind, and getting familiar with his current body. I also figured out what the so-called achievement sign-in system is like. It allows Chen Yiban to sign in once a day. The things you sign in could be anything. No level restrictions. It might allow Chen Yiban to rise to fame overnight, or he might get something like a pack of tissues. In the past few days, Chen Yiban has signed in for something as eye-watering as a pack of tissues. However, apart from the basic daily check-in, achieve something. For example, defeat, kill or subdue some powerful people. All of these can also allow Chen Yiban to gain additional sign-in opportunities. So, he came to Konoha. Start, want to do something, make trouble. And, Konoha is just the beginning. Chen Yiban, who has now become Uchiha Madara and possesses all the power to create Uchiha Madara during the Konoha period. In his heart, a man's greed for power is growing uncontrollably. Chapter 2. I saw Chen Yiban, who looked exactly like Uchiha Madara, and even wore the same red armor as the one in the anime. At this moment, on the busy streets of Konoha, while walking slowly among the people coming and going, many Konoha civilians were attracted by Chen Yiban's old-style armor from the Sengoku period. Moreover, Uchiha Madara's appearance is also eye-catching enough. This made Chen Yiban attract the attention of many passers-by along the way. The return rate is very high. In this regard, Chen Yiban, with her waist-length hair swaying in the breeze, ignored the gazes of all passers-by. Only, that's great. Master Tsunade, who was once one of the Sunin, is now the 5th Hokage of Konoha. It is said that Lady Tsunade is the granddaughter of the first Hokage, who is known as the god of ninja. Zetsu. Although the death of the third-generation leader is sad, the timely succession of the new Hokage is truly a blessing in disguise. But I heard that 5th Hokage-sama was able to return thanks to that demon fox. I heard that it was Uzumaki Naruto and Jiraiya-sama who invited Tsunade-sama back to the village to take over the position of 5th Hokage. Among the people coming and going, the civilians or some ordinary ninjas all seemed happy and a little sentimental. Chen Yiban, listening to their words, also knew. It turns out that this is the time in the original drama when the third-generation old man was killed by Orochimaru, and then Senju Tsunade was brought back to the village by the protagonists Naruto and Jiraiya to become the 5th Hokage. Hashirama. At this time, because he heard the name of a person from the mouths of the civilians and ordinary ninjas passing by, Chen Yiban, subconsciously couldn't help but say the man's name. Senju Hashirama. Chen Yiban, the eternal Mangekyō Sharingan in his eyes almost couldn't help but emerge, and a terrifying chakra exploded. Apparently, during the period of transforming into Uchiha Madara's appearance and gaining all of his combat power, Uchiha Madara's memories. It also indirectly had a little impact on Chen Yiban. When I heard that man's name, I felt a crazy desire to fight, and I could hardly control myself. But, Chen Yiban quickly realized that he was Chen Yiban, not Uchiha Madara. So, my mood gradually calmed down. I am Ban, not Madara. Also at this time, Chen Yiban, with a pair of deep black pupils, saw a scene that interested him. Several familiar figures from the original drama appeared in Chen Yiban's sight at this moment. According to the images of them in the cartoons that Chen Yiban had seen, roughly guess and judge. At this moment, what appeared in Chen Yiban's sight should be, Akamichi Choza, Narashikaku, Yamanaka Hai, Hitaki Kakashi, Might Guy, Ui Kurane, Mitarashi Anko, Yuan Fayasuma and many other Jonin of Konoha. Especially Hitaki Kakashi. The most classic elite Jonin in the original drama. The moment I saw them, Chen Yiban almost recognized them. It's almost exactly the same as the image in the original drama. It just turned from an animation into a real person appearing in front of Chen Yiban. They didn't seem to see Chen Yiban on the road. Instead, they went into a barbecue restaurant in front together. Well, it should be that the new Hokage of Konoha has just ascended the throne, so these Jonin who know each other and have a good relationship with each other are planning to get together? I just didn't expect that Kakashi was there too. Interesting. Seeing the group of Jonin, both men and women, enter a barbecue restaurant in front, Chen Yiban smiled slightly and walked past. Then, he turned around and walked towards the barbecue restaurant. Hey, do you feel that person looks familiar? It does feel strangely familiar, especially the style of the armor he's wearing. I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. That guy is really good looking. But his hair is too long. He looks gloomy. Is he someone who is difficult to approach? He doesn't look like he's from Konoha. Is he a ninja? The civilians on the roadside and some ordinary ninjas passing by looked at Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor and had long flowing hair, and then gradually walked away, and they couldn't help but communicate with each other. The other side, well, I can finally relax. Because of that BD Orochimaru, we Jonin have been very busy during this period. Now that Master Tsunade has returned and assumed the position of 5th Hokage, the village is finally functioning normally again. In a corner of the barbecue restaurant, Akamichi Choza, Narashikaku, Yamanaka Inoichi, Ui Kurane, Kakashi, and others were already sitting together. During this time, Mitarashi Anko, after sitting down, spoke first. During this time, hearing Orochimaru's name, Yunfei Asuma couldn't help but clench his fists slightly. After all, if it weren't for Cold Lord Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sunin, third-generation old man Yunfei Hiruzen wouldn't have passed away suddenly. And the old man from third generation is Yunfei Asuma's dad. On the side, Kakashi, Ui Kurane, Narashikaku, and others could also understand Asuma's feelings. They also expressed regret for the death of the third generation, but due to a series of incidents following Orochimaru's invasion, they had no time to feel sentimental. Today, because Princess Tsunade finally succeeded as 5th Hokage, the originally tense atmosphere in the village relaxed a little. The Jonin finally had some free time to get together and have a good meal. Afterwards, the waiter at the barbecue restaurant quickly brought over the grilled meat that Kakashi and his friends had ordered. Well, let's not talk about other things for now, let's grill the meat. Mitarashi Anko, seeing the meat coming up, couldn't help but raise her chopsticks and smiled. On the other hand, the Akamichi Choza was grilled even faster. You are faster than me. Mitarashi Anko glanced at Akamichi Dingza, then hurriedly put the meat on the stove. There is a person with a quirky personality like Mitarashi Anko. The atmosphere suddenly became much more relaxed and lively. At the side, the mature and charming Ui Kurane was also looking at her best friend Anko, who had a carefree personality, and couldn't help shaking her head and laughing. The meat looks good. Do you mind having one more person? Suddenly, among the Konoha Jonin in this corner, an abrupt voice suddenly arose. Chapter 3. Hearing the sudden sound, Kakashi, Asuma, Might Guy, Ui Kurane, Narashikaku, Mitarashi Anko, and other Konoha Jonin. They couldn't help but look back in confusion, looking behind them where the voice came from. The next second, I saw a man wearing a black suit, Sengoku-style red armor, black gloves, and a striking head of waist-length hair. I don't know when she, was standing behind all the Jonin. When? During this time, Kakashi, Asuma, Might Guy, Ui Kurane and other Jonin were all shocked. The other party had actually gotten so close without any of the Jonin noticing. How come they don't feel anything at all? If this person is an enemy and wants to attack any of them. Didn't I just? Thinking of this, Kakashi and the others, Chen couldn't help but feel confused and puzzled. At the same time, he looked at the man in front of him curiously. Suddenly, someone appeared behind Kakashi, Ui Kurane, and the others. Naturally, it is Chen Yiban who has obtained all the power to establish Konoha Uchiha Madara. So, mind adding me? Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and with long flowing hair, looked at Kakashi, Might Guy, Asuma, Ui Kurane, and others at the table in front of him. He asked again with a faint smile on his face. During this period, I have to say, Madara's appearance is really top-notch when she smiles. Even Xi Rihong couldn't help but secretly admire Chen Yiban's appearance. Hey, who are you? We don't want strangers to come and eat and drink for free. At this time, Mitarashi Anko held his chin with one hand and looked at Chen Yiban, who was standing beside him in red armor. And, speaking of which, when I look at you, I feel inexplicably familiar with you, as if I have seen you somewhere before. Suddenly, Mitarashi Anko looked at Chen Yiban and felt that he looked more and more familiar. I feel the same way. On the side, Zahi Kurane also echoed. Similarly, Asuma, Narashikaku, Akamichi Choza, Yamanaka Hai and other Konoha Jonin all felt that Chen Yiban looked inexplicably familiar. It really seems like I've seen it somewhere. It is indeed the same appearance, looks, and clothing as Chen Yiban's Uchiha Madara. Make it look very familiar to them. But for a moment, I couldn't remember where I had seen these Jonin. Really? It seems like there is a special bond between us. Chen Yiban said with a faint smile again. In my heart, I was thinking, will knocking down all of these Konoha Jonin give me an extra sign-in opportunity? The strong strength gave Chen Yiban great confidence. It makes him look like a man who is playing with the world, ignoring all worldly rules, and looking down on everyone. Oh, I remember now. Just then, Mitarashi Anko suddenly shouted. Then, pointing at Chen Yiban, the red armor you're wearing is a replica of the old-fashioned armor from the Sengoku era, right? No wonder he looks so familiar. Mitarashi Anko felt that she had finally found the place on Chen Yiban that made her feel familiar. But on the side, Kakashi was observing Chen Yiban. Kakashi felt that what made people feel familiar about Chen Yiban was not just the old-fashioned armor on him. Just then, it seems so. I think the huge stone statues of the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara, the predecessor of Uchiha, in the Valley of the End, are wearing this kind of armor, right? After hearing what Mitarashi Anko said, Yui Kurane added this. Just these few words. Kakashi suddenly thought of something. Then, his eyes suddenly looked back at Chen Yiban in front of him, and began to compare him with the stone statue of the man he had seen in his memory. However, the more he compared, the more confused Kakashi became. His right eye began to widen a little bit with a hint of surprise. No way. That's impossible. Kakashi, in his heart, began to doubt himself. I see, you seem to like Sengoku's old-fashioned armor from that time. Well, if you don't mind, come sit with me. Xiri Hong, I feel like it's not a good idea to let Chen Yiban stand in the aisle all the time. So, after saying a few words casually, he made room for Chen Yiban without thinking too much. Ahem, my friend, please sit next to me. Seeing Xiri Hong give up her seat to Chen Yiban, Asuma suddenly gave up a seat as well. I really don't want Chen Yiban to sit next to Xiri Hong. Okay, thank you. Chen Yiban, who had been smiling all the time, nodded slightly at this time. Then, he wanted to go forward and sit down. But suddenly, etc. Hatake Kakashi, with an expression of surprise, deep suspicion and even a little disbelief on his face, suddenly stood up and stared at Chen Yiban. Chen Yiban's movements couldn't help but pause slightly. Who are you? Kakashi, at this point, had a look of alarm on his face. In fact, he was already ready to make seals at any time. Kakashi, at this time, seemed to be facing a formidable enemy. In this way, at the scene, the atmosphere suddenly became inexplicably tense. Hey, Kakashi, although I kind of hate having one more person to share our barbecue, but you don't have to be so nervous, right? Mitarashi Anko felt a little funny looking at the very nervous Kakashi. But she didn't know how surprised, doubtful and unbelieving Kakashi was at that moment. On the side, Asuma, Shikaku, Yamanaka, Choza, and other Konoha Jonin were looking at Kakashi, who was suddenly so nervous with some confusion at this moment. Hey, Kakashi, what's wrong with you? Might Guy was a little confused about what his best friend Kakashi meant at the moment. However, Might Guy, who knows Kakashi well, thinks that there must be a reason for Kakashi's defensive behavior at this time. To this, your name is Kakashi, right? Oh. What do you see in me? Chen Yiban smiled with interest, and looked at Hatake Kakashi with his black pupils. Chapter 4. You really are. Impossible. That person can't be alive, and he can't be as young as you. Hatake Kakashi, at this moment, looked at Chen Yiban with shock and disbelief in his eyes. Yui Kurane, Asuma, Might Guy, Nara Shikaku, and others watched as Kakashi became more and more nervous, even saying something incomprehensible. At this moment, many Jonin were a little confused about what happened to Kakashi. Kakashi. Nara Shikaku felt that Kakashi would not suddenly act so strangely. Therefore, Naralu also re-examined Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor and whose sitting action was interrupted. Immediately, etc. You. Suddenly, it was like a thunderclap sounded in Nara Shikaku's mind. He also became like Kakashi at this moment, with an expression of shock and disbelief. He looked at Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor and had long, smooth hair. Shikaku, why are you like this? Akamichi Choza looked at Shikaku with blank and puzzled eyes, who had the same surprised expression as Kakashi. During this time, Yui Kurane, Mitarashi Anko, Asuma, Yamanaka, and Might Guy also looked confused. Until, Chen Yiban, whose action of sitting down was interrupted by Kakashi, chuckled for no apparent reason at this moment. And, did you recognize it? You too. A pair of black pupils looked at Hatake Kakashi and Nara Shikaku at this moment. Everyone. Hatake Kakashi looked at the Jonin around him. It seemed like he wanted to remind them to get ready for battle immediately, at least. We need to be defensive. The person in front of me may be the legendary Kakashi. What happened between you and Shikaku? Why are you so wary of this strange gentleman? Might Guy scratched his head. But I believe in Kakashi. So, hand over your identity, my friend. The next second, Might Guy suddenly smiled and stared at Chen Yiban with his teeth shining. As Kakashi's rival for many years, Might Guy knows Kakashi well enough. Therefore, Might Guy chooses to trust Kakashi unconditionally. Therefore, Might Guy became wary of Chen Yiban at this moment. On the side, Yuanfei, Asuma, Ui Kurane, Shikaku, Yamanaka, Dingzo, and other Jainin also began to stare at Chen Yiban. Only, hey, what the hell are you guys doing? Mitarashi Anko, I still feel like these companions around me are a little weird? Until you want to give up your identity. I didn't expect that in just 70 or 80 years, Konoha would completely forget about the people who existed during the Sengoku era. Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and with messy hair, had a sneer on his face. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You want to know my name? Sure. In this world, I allow you to call me. Chen Yiban had a slightly cold smile on his face and said this to Kakashi, Nara Shikaku, Might Guy and others in front of him. At this time, Chen Yiban had not yet finished speaking, as expected, you are, Uchiha Madara. But before Chen Yiban could finish his words, Kakashi actually answered Chen Yiban in front of him. Chen Yiban? Upon hearing this, Mitarashi Anko, who originally felt that Kakashi and the others were a little bit puzzled, was instantly shocked. I couldn't even hold the chopsticks in my hand and dropped them on the table. Ui Kurane, Asuma, Akamichi Choza, Might Guy. Everyone's face was filled with shock and disbelief, and they couldn't help but stand there in a daze for a moment. Even though he had already guessed something about Nara Shikaku, at this moment, when he heard Chen Yiban's words that seemed to half admit his identity, the two of them were still looking at Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor, with eyes full of surprise and doubt. You, Uchiha, Madara. You are. Ui Kurane, at this moment I really couldn't believe the name that Kakashi said on my behalf. But, also at this moment, this gesture. Through the name Uchiha Madara, Ui Kurane finally discovered, the Chen Yiban in front of him was extremely similar to one of the two huge stone statues that had always existed in the Valley of the End. I didn't think of that just now. But at this time, in Zirion's eyes, Chen Yiban really looked extremely similar to a stone statue in the Valley of the End. Especially that Sengoku armor and that long, flourishing hair. It's like the stone statue has come alive. At this moment, the stone statue that Zihihong thought of. It is the legendary strongman Uchiha Madara. Chen Yiban. Period. Of course, Xirihong was not the only one who thought of this at this moment. Except for Kakashi and Nara Shikaku who realized it from the beginning, at this moment, Asuma, Might Guy, Mitarashi Anko, Yamanaka Hai and everyone else thought of this. Then, impossible. The legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara, died in a battle with first Hokage Senju Hashirama many years ago. Yuanfei Asuma suddenly stood up and denied Chen Yiban's identity. Might Guy, Ui Kurane and Mitarashi Anko also agreed with this. How can the dead be resurrected? However, Hashirama. Hearing that man's name again, Chen Yiban, who had received almost all of Uchiha Madara's memories, was suddenly shocked. At this moment, a terrible fighting spirit and murderous intent erupted uncontrollably from the depths of his memory. Chen Yiban, who possesses Uchiha Madara. All memories, could not control his murderous intent and fighting spirit the moment he heard the name Senju Hashirama. Not good. Retreat quickly. Kakashi noticed Chen Yiban's situation in time and immediately waved and shouted to the others around him. The people on the side were all Jainin level, and their reaction abilities were at least acceptable. Immediately, no matter what was about to happen, everyone listened to the team's orders, retreat. Don't mention that person's name in front of me, boom, the powerful chakra exploded. In an instant, even though Kakashi and the others retreated in advance, they were still knocked through the walls by the explosive force of the powerful chakra. Everyone was blown out of the barbecue restaurant and finally landed on the street outside. What a powerful chakra! This level of chakra is unprecedented. After Nara Shikaku stabilized his body and stood on the street with everyone else, he could not help but exclaim in surprise. On the side, Kakashi, Might Guy, Yuanfei, Asuma and others were also shocked and extremely solemn. Period. This terrifying amount of chakra. Hey, Kakashi, he can't really be. Might Guy, at this point, looked shocked. In response, Kakashi was already holding a kunai, his face serious to the ultimate level as he stared at the grill that had been shattered by the powerful chakra. At this time, countless diners in the barbecue restaurant ran out of the store in panic. In the end, the boss and his men all ran away. I guess those who didn't know would think it was an earthquake. When most people in the barbecue restaurant had run away, Hashirama. I've already reached the other side. At this time, Chen Yiban was almost immersed in Uchiha Madara's memories. Chakra and terrifying pupil power are exploding. Roar. The next moment, followed by a roar. Boom. A blue statue several dozen meters tall Susanoo. Stage 3 broke through the roof of the barbecue restaurant. In the end, he even stepped on the entire barbecue restaurant. Seeing this scene, Kakashi glanced thoughtfully at the kunai in his hand. Chapter 5. My kunai, facing the dozens of meters tall blue energy giant in front of me. It seems a bit mysterious. Kakashi smiled bitterly in his heart. At the same time, I was also wondering, the legendary strongman, Uchiha Madara. Reappearance in the world. To this how is it possible? Seeing the dozens of meters tall blue Susanoo suddenly appearing in front of them, Yui Kurane, Mitarashi Anko, Narashikaku and other Jonin were stunned. At this moment, the streets are in chaos. All around, the villagers of Konoha were running around in panic. Indeed, they were all frightened by the sudden appearance of the dozens of meters long blue Susanoo. Third stage stepping on the barbecue restaurant, and they fled in all directions. To this, bang Susanoo, who was several dozen meters tall, took 2 steps forward with heavy footsteps. Then, Chen Yiban, dressed in red armor, was seen inside Susanoo's body. He looked at Kakashi, Might Guy, Yuan Fei, Asuma and other Jonin at his feet so coldly. His eyes. Narashikaku pointed at Chen Yiban, who was standing high in the sky and holding the huge head of Susanoo. Sharingan. The other Jonin looked at Chen Yiban above where Narashikaku pointed. Suddenly I saw a pair of eyes glowing scarlet light. Mangekyō Sharingan. And this pattern of Mangekyō. He really is the one in the legend. Hitaki Kakashi, at this time, frowned and looked at Chen Yiban's eyes inside Susanoo's head in the sky, and then spoke with a heavy heart. At the same time, what happened? At the Hokage building, Senjo Tsunade was just processing documents. Suddenly, I heard a sound similar to an explosion and a small earthquake. I couldn't help but stand up and look out the window of the Hokage building in confusion. Next second, Neni. Princess Tsunade was looking out the window, and at this moment, she looked surprised. That is. Grandpa and second grandpa said that Susanoo, can it be done? Why did you suddenly appear in the village? Princess Tsunade spoke in confusion. Also at this time, oink oink. Several Anbu ninjas instantly arrived at the Hokage building. Hokage-sama, an enemy is invading Konoha. Several Anbu ninjas knelt on one knee and reported to Princess Tsunade at the desk. Of course, Tsunade can now see what's happening outside by herself. Who is the other party? Looking back at the Anbu ninjas, Tsunade asked sharply. To this, I don't know where it came from yet, but it looks like the ancient armor he's wearing is from the Sengoku era. Anbu ninja answers. Armor from the Sengoku period. Tsunade was stunned. Then, he looked outside again. Next moment, wait, this is the blue Susanoo with 2 faces and 4 arms. This is not the legendary one who once fought with Grandpa in the Valley of the End. This is impossible. Bang! Princess Tsunade suddenly became inexplicably excited and smashed the desk next to her with one punch. She thought of a possibility that she couldn't believe. But Tsunade didn't want to admit that it was true. It must be just a coincidence. Tsunade-ji told herself this at this moment. But, Hashirama! Chen Yiban's roar was deafening and full of murderous intent. At the same time, the giant blue Susanoo with 2 legs suddenly clenched its giant hand, and a chakra knife instantly condensed in its hand, and it swung it fiercely, boom. The terrifying blade light instantly cut the first Hokage rock carved on the rock wall in the distance into 2 halves. Even the image of the 2nd generation and 3rd generation nearby was shattered. This power. Princess Tsunade and a group of Anbu ninjas who had already left the Hokage building couldn't help but click their lips. The power of this sword is no less than that of an S-level ninjutsu. He is calling my great-grandfather's name. Who is he? At this moment, Senju Tsunade couldn't help but feel surprised. Now, what a terrible destructive power! Not far away from the giant blue Susanoo, Might Guy now exclaimed with a serious look on his face. The Hokage rock statue of Shode, and other Hokage Samus. Kurane exclaimed in surprise as she looked at the Hokage rock statue that was split in the middle of the mountain wall in the distance. Anko, you must immediately report the situation here to the 5th Hokage, Master Tsunade, and tell her that an enemy who may be the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara has appeared in the village at this moment. Let us block this place first. At this time, Hatake Kakashi glanced at Ui Kurane and Mitarashi Anko. Then, Shikaku, Hai, Hong, evacuate and protect the surrounding villagers. Then, Guy, Asuma, and Choza, we must stop this big guy in front of us. Kakashi continued to speak quickly to the other Jonin around him as if giving an order. Then, Earth style. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and then Kakashi pressed his hands on the ground. Boom! Suddenly, a huge earth wall rose from the ground and covered the huge blue Susanoo in the middle. Hey, I don't care who's in front of me. Bloom with youth. 8 inner gates. 6th gate. Open. Might Guy has opened the 8 inner gates directly to the 6th gate. I just wanted to have a good barbecue, why did things become so serious for no reason? On the side, Mitarashi Anko couldn't help but complain aloud, but the next second he instantly ran towards the Hokage building. Meanwhile, several Jonin including Ui Kurane, Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Hai and others also scattered immediately. He also began to release ninjutsu towards the huge blue Susanoo, or to protect and evacuate the villagers in all directions. To this, watching the huge earth wall falling towards me first. Oh! Inside the huge Susanoo. Stage 3 head, Chen Yiban opened his Mangekyō Sharingan and smiled coldly with disdain. Then, oink oink dash, there were 3 more huge chakra knives, condensed in Susanoo's other 3 big hands. Suddenly it turned into 4 arms holding 4 huge chakra knives. Then, shua! Boom! 4 swords slashed towards the surroundings at the same time. Immediately, the huge earth wall was chopped into pieces. Kakashi, the attack failed. So strong! Kakashi couldn't help but exclaim. Fire style. Fire dragon flame bomb. At this time, Yuanfei Asuma released the fire style ninjutsu. See this, show off your skills before an expert. On the huge blue Susanoo, Chen Yiban, with a pair of scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan, showed even more disdain. Then, swoosh! Another simple slash of the sword directly cut through the surging fire dragon's flame bomb. On the other side, on a street a little further away, that's 12-year-old Uchiha Sasuke was standing on the road with a look of surprise, looking up at the blue Susanoo that was dozens of meters tall in the distance. Chapter 6. Uchiha Sasuke was shocked by the huge two-faced, four-armed blue Susanoo in the distance. At the same time, after he swiftly jumped onto the roof of a nearby building, there seems to be someone in that monster's head. Wait, those red eyes are Sharingan. Even from a distance, Uchiha Sasuke could see the pair of glowing scarlet eyes of Chen Yiban among Susanoo. And this feeling, is actually the same as that man. No. This is an even more terrifying eye power and chakra than that man. Especially this amount of chakra. How can someone possess such a huge amount of chakra? Who is he? Uchiha Sasuke, who is only about 12 years old now, looks so confused at this moment. As a member of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Sasuke could feel the powerful pupil power from Mangekyō Sharingan in Chen Yiban's eyes even from a long distance. Uchiha Sasuke had felt this kind of powerful eye power in the eyes of his brother Uchiha Itachi. It was an extremely cold, powerful, and terrifying force. However, Uchiha Sasuke actually saw the Sharingan in the eyes of another stranger, and even felt the power of the Mangekyō Sharingan. What's more, it was even more powerful, colder, and more terrifying than the Uchiha Itachi's eye power he had ever felt before. Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but feel shocked and unbelievable. Apart from himself and the sinner Uchiha Itachi, are there other members of the Uchiha clan? At this moment, Uchiha Sasuke actually felt a little surprised in his heart. Do you have any tribesmen? And they are such a powerful tribe. But Uchiha Sasuke didn't know why the other party would make such a fuss in the village at this moment. Why? When will my Sharingan? Before he knew it, Uchiha Sasuke discovered that his Tsutomu Sharingan had been activated at some point. Is it the Uchiha clan's eye power resonance? Uchiha Sasuke became more and more certain that the other person was one of his tribesmen. Also at this time, attracted by a very friendly eye power, Chen Yiban, who had just lost control of the crazy fighting spirit in the memory of Uchiha Madara, immediately regained his sanity. I have to say, Uchiha Madara's fighting spirit against Senju Hashirama is really terrifying. As expected, he is your lifelong rival. Just hearing the name Senju Hashirama, Chen Yiban, who had absorbed the memory of Uchiha Madara, almost completely lost control in the extremely fiery fighting spirit in the memory. Fortunately, a beam of pupil power from the distance that seemed to be of the same origin attracted Chen Yiban's attention at this moment. It also allowed him to regain his sanity in time. Then, floating on the head of Susanoo, Chen Yiban at this moment used the supervision of Mangekyō Sharingan to quickly see, that is, Uchiha Sasuke. Chen Yiban immediately saw the figure of Uchiha Sasuke on the rooftop in the distance and recognized him immediately. After all, Uchiha still looks very iconic, not to mention his unique clothing and family emblem. Uchiha's hairstyle alone is unique. Moreover, the only one in Konoha who possesses the Sharingan with both eyes is Uchiha Sasuke. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke was also on the roof, looking at Susanoo's Chen Yiban. Then, when I saw Chen Yiban staring at me with his Mangekyō Sharingan open, Uchiha Sasuke suddenly felt as if he was being stared at by the eyes of a ferocious ancient beast. In an instant, Uchiha Sasuke was so shocked that he felt as if his whole body was frozen and unable to move. Ninjutsu Expansion Jutsu. At this moment, when Chen Yiban and Uchiha Sasuke were looking at each other, Akatsuki Choza suddenly became gigantic. At the same time, heart to heart, Yamanaka Hai, a member of the Inoshikase age group, was also preparing to use his secret technique on Chen Yiban and Susanoo from a distance. But, Zheng! Chen Yiban's pair of Mangekyō Sharingan, just a glimpse. He was instantly stunned. Trapped in an illusion. During this time, Narashikaku used the shadow binding technique to control Akatsuki Choza, who had just performed a high-speed meat bomb roll, and then threw him like a yo-yo towards the giant, two-faced, four-armed blue Susanoo that was dozens of meters tall. But, roll! Chen Yiban Li shouted, then controlled Susanoo. The third stage and kicked it hard. The powerful force directly kicked the round meatball into the sky. And, swoosh! Chen Yiban instantly condensed an 8-board Megatama and then let Susanoo blast it towards the huge meatball in the sky. Break! The next moment, a huge arm covered in blood was waving directly in the air. Ugh! Behind him, Akatsuki Choza stopped the rapid tumbling of the meat bomb, looking like he had a broken arm. Singzo! Kakashi, Yui Kurane, Yamanaka Hai, Narashikaku and others all exclaimed in surprise. That guy is so strong! On this side, Uchiha Sasuke was shocked as he watched from the top of a high building. At the same time, I was curious about what kind of ninjutsu this huge Susanoo that was tens of meters long in front of me was. How can it be so powerful? As powerful as Kakashi was, with so many Jonin besieging one person, he was actually at a complete disadvantage. Who is that man? Defeat and cut off one arm of Akatsuki Dingzuo, achieve a primary achievement once, congratulations, primary achievement lottery once. Void, the system prompt interface and sound that only Chen Yiban could see appeared at the same time. Oh! Chen Yiban, Mangekyō Sharingan just glanced at the empty system prompt. Then smiled indifferently. The scarlet gaze began from Susanoo, who was several dozen meters high, overlooking the surroundings below. You guys, is this all you have? How can you please me like this? Chen Yiban received almost all of Uchiha Madara's life memories and combat experience, so it is inevitable that he would be more or less influenced by Madara. Especially, the influence of speaking style. In this regard, looking at Chen Yiban who is so high and mighty. Kakashi, Asuma, what should we do? He is too strong. On the side, Xiri Hong frowned. Orochimaru's chakra would be as fragile as Genin's in front of this man. He is so strong that he is like a monster. While running towards the Hokage building at high speed, Mitarashi Anko looked back with a look of doubt and exclaimed in surprise. The chakra reaction on Chen Yiban's body is really amazing. During this time, Hatake Kakashi looked at the blue Susanoo that was dozens of meters tall in front of him, and especially sensed Chen Yiban's chakra inside the Susanoo. Kakashi couldn't help but feel a little powerless. This terrifying chakra is like a human-shaped tailed beast. Don't forget, I'm here too. Konoha's blue beast is here. Look at me. Peacock. Chapter 7. To the Peacock. Suddenly, a loud shout that seemed to represent infinite and fiery youth was heard. It turned out that it was Might Guy who opened the 6th gate from the 8 inner gates. It was now complete. At the same time, when others failed, Might Guy was now burning with turbulent blue steam all over his body. Then rush to the huge blue Susanoo. Directly activate your ultimate move after opening 8 inner gates and 6th gate, to the Peacock. Boom boom boom. The powerful fist rubbed the air to produce flames, which combined with the extremely powerful air cannon that burst out. In an instant, they were like fiery red peacocks, bombarding the huge blue Susanoo in front of them. Then, under Susanoo. 3rd stage, Chen Yiban was hit by the powerful air cannon against Peacock and took several steps back. But, Zheng. Responding, the 4 giant arms of blue Susanoo swung forward in unison, holding giant chakra blades. Directly cut off all the Peacock flame air cannons fired by Might Guy. Whoosh! He even condensed the 8-plate Megatama once again in an instant and threw it at Might Guy. Fortunately, Might Guy had extremely fast speed and reaction ability when the 8 inner gate's 6th gate was opened, and he dodged Chen Yiban's 8-board Megatama. It's not like Akamichi Choza who had his arm cut off directly. Boom! The Yasabatsu no Megatama was dodged by Might Guy, but the row of houses in front were not so lucky. All of them were instantly shattered into pieces by the terrifying force of the 8-plate Megatama. Period. Swish, 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 swish. Many Anbu members nearby also rushed here at this time. Kakashi Jainin, what's going on here? A masked man who looked like Captain Anbu was shocked by Susanoo after landing. When he reacted, he immediately asked Kakashi. At the same time, there were some Anbu ninjas around who knew medical ninjutsu, and they had already removed the broken arm of Akamichi Choza. And start the treatment for Akamichi Choza. But there is no way to reattach a broken arm. Perhaps, if the medical expert, now their 5th Hokage, Princess Tsunade, comes, there will be some hope? Now these Anbu can only temporarily and simply stop the bleeding and heal Akamichi Choza quickly. And Hitaki Kakashi at this moment, you may not believe this, but please believe this, the enemy before us is the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara. After taking a look at the Anbu squad leader, Kakashi spoke with an extremely serious look. What? Hearing this, the Anbu squad leader and every Anbu around him were all stunned. I really can't believe what Kakashi said at this moment. What Kakashi said is true. The man before us possesses the mysterious Mangekyō Sharingan that is legendary among the Uchiha clan. At this time, Zahihong came over and added. Mangekyō Sharingan. The Anbu ninjas were shocked. Then they wanted to look up and see Chen Yiban inside the huge Susanoo's head. Don't look into his eyes. Kakashi shouted hurriedly. Then he explained, I will fall into a terrible illusion from the Mangekyō Sharingan. Also at this time, untie. On the side, an Anbu ninja seemed to want to help the motionless Yamanaka Hai to break some kind of illusion. But, as the Anbu ninja formed seals with his hands, he shouted release from the mouth inside the mask. Yamanaka Hai still had a dazed look on his face, his eyes were dull, and he continued to lie motionless. How could it be? The Anbu was a little unconvinced. The illusion of Mangekyō Sharingan is not something that ordinary ninjas can break. Kakashi spoke again. At this moment, Kakashi's expression was extremely solemn. The Anbu ninjas on the side also hurriedly lowered their heads, not daring to really look up at Chen Yiban's eyes on Susanoo. To this, oh! Looking at the Anbu ninjas who were treating Akamichi Choza and trying to break the Mangekyō illusion that Yamanaka Hiki was suffering from, Chen Yiban smiled coldly inside Susanoo's head. During this time, the Mangekyō Sharingan flashed a cold scarlet light. What's the use of a mob, no matter how many of them come? Let me show you. What is real ninjutsu? On top of the blue Susanoo that was dozens of meters tall, Chen Yiban, dressed in red armor, spoke proudly to himself. Next moment, fire style, great fire extinguishment. Chen Yiban clasped his hands together and puffed up his mouth. Boom! The next moment, a terrifying high-temperature flame was gushing out of Chen Yiban's mouth. And in an instant it was like a raging sea of fire, or like the Milky Way pouring down. It rushed towards all the Anbu ninjas below as well as Kakashi, Kurenai, Asuma, Might Guy, and everyone else. The range of this technique is so large. Zahihong couldn't help but exclaim. At the same time, she reacted and was like Kakashi and Anbu ninjas around her and many other ninjas who knew water style, Water style. Water barrier. Quickly form hand seals and release water style ninjutsu. Finally, the water style released by dozens of ninjas together was able to block Chen Yiban's attack of great fire extinguishing. Hiss, but at this moment the air is full of white steam. It blocked the combat vision of many people. Leaf hurricane. At the critical moment, Might Guy appeared again and performed physical skills in the powerful state of the 8 inner gates and 6th gate opened. In an instant, a huge gust of wind swept up and swept away the steam. But, hey-ah! Suddenly, a sickle weapon slashed towards Might Guy's throat the moment he blew away the steam. It turned out that Chen Yiban had left Susanoo and attacked Might Guy with a sickle weapon he had taken out from somewhere. Guy! Kakashi's worried voice. Ding, clang clang. However, Might Guy reacted very quickly and defended himself when the 6th gate was open. However, Might Guy, who was unarmed, was still scratched in the abdomen by a sickle that looked like a Shinigami weapon in Chen Yiban's hand. Chen Yiban was also temporarily kicked away by Might Guy with a powerful kick. To this, with a swish, Chen Yiban landed on the roof of a building. Thus, the numerous Konoha shinobi, especially Might Guy, who were holding scythe weapons, overlooked the streets below. You're great. But you don't have enough Saiyan steam to fight me. Chen Yiban smiled calmly while looking down at the Might Guy on the street below. Squeak squeak squeak. Suddenly, a burst of intense bird calls arose behind Chen Yiban. It turns out that Kakashi over there has always been shadow clone. Kakashi's real body has been in the dark preparing to launch a sneak attack on Chen Yiban. This was the last chance. Kakashi, holding the Reikari, attacked Chen Yiban's heart from behind at an extremely fast speed. Ha, he's really as dark as that Tobirama guy. Chapter 8. The next second, Kakashi's Reikari successfully pierced the heart of Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor. At this moment, Hatake Kakashi's Sharingan on his left eye has been revealed. Kakashi, good job. At this time, Might Guy couldn't help but cheer out loud. But, puff! Chen Yiban, who was stabbed in the heart by Reikari, turned into a ball of white mist. Disappeared. Nani? Not good. Kakashi was horrified. I immediately wanted to retreat as quickly as possible. But, Shuazheng! A tall red figure flashed in front of him. And, boom! Reach back and take it out. As a stream of red blood flowed out. Kakashi's left eye, Sharingan, was instantly dug out by Chen Yiban. Ah! Kakashi couldn't help but groan in pain. Kakashi! Might Guy, as well as Yui Kurane, Asuma and others beside him all cried out anxiously and rushed forward quickly to rescue Kakashi. To this, when a mantis stalks a cicada, it must be aware, the aureole is behind it. Chen Yiban said this to Kakashi in front of him with a faint smile on his face. During this time, Chen Yiban did not stop his movements at all, and the sickle weapon in his other hand suddenly chopped towards the head of Kakashi in front of him. Kakashi is actually very strong, and his elite Genin strength is always among the best in Konoha village. Only. At this moment, Kakashi is facing Chen Yiban who has all the strength of Uchiha Madara. Kakashi was like a babbling child in front of Chen Yiban. Weak. Too weak. In front of Chen Yiban, Kakashi had no power to resist at all. The next moment, Chen Yiban was seen about to chop off Kakashi's head with the sickle in his hand. Kakashi, Asuma, Narashikaku, Yui Kurane and other companions were all very anxious, but even the Might Guy who opened the 6th gate of the 8 inner gates could not get there in time. Boom! But, the next second, it was Chen Yiban who flew out. Kakashi! Cheer up! At this moment, a graceful figure kicked Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor, away at the critical moment, and glanced at Kakashi next to him. Kakashi, who had escaped the disaster by covering his bleeding left eye, looked at the woman in front of him with a little surprise and surprise. 5th generation, Hokage adults. At the critical moment, it was Princess Tsunade, now the 5th Hokage of Konoha, who arrived in time and kicked Chen Yiban away. Afterwards, Tsunade stepped forward and covered Kakashi's bleeding left eye with her hand, and began to use the medical ninjutsu in her hand to quickly heal Kakashi's eyes. Sharingan was taken away. While treating, Princess Tsunade asked cautiously. Yes, I'm sorry. Kakashi said very apologetically. At the same time, looking at the charming Tsunade-ji in front of him, 5th Hokage, the other party is very likely Uchiha Madara. Princess Tsunade suddenly answered and asked again, right. Hi, yes. Kakashi nodded. Also at this time, swish, 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 swish. Might Guy, Kurane Ui, Asuma and other Jonin finally arrived at the rooftop. At the same time, countless Anbu ninjas followed closely behind and flashed onto the battlefield behind Princess Tsunade. In addition, Mitarashi Anko, who just went to inform Tsunade Hime, has also returned to the field. Kakashi, how are you? Might Guy asked worriedly as soon as he arrived. Hokage-sama. The others saluted Princess Tsunade first. Everyone, be alert to the enemy. Princess Tsunade gave the order directly. Yes. Ui Kurane, Asuma, Narashikaku and countless Anbu ninjas immediately stepped forward, alert to Chen Yiban's direction. Regarding this, in the ruins of a collapsed building, bang! A giant blue chakra skeleton hand several meters in size suddenly shook off the rubble and stones that were buried on its body. Then, Chen Yiban was seen standing in the ruins, protected by Susanoo Phase I. During this time, he held his weapon, the sickle, in one hand and a three-tomo Sharingan that he had dug out from Kakashi's left eye in the other. This is Uchiha. Obito's Kamui Sharingan. Whoosh! The next second, the Sharingan in Chen Yiban's hand suddenly disappeared out of thin air. But in the internal space of the achievement sign-in system, Box 1, Uchiha Fan. Grid 2, 3 Tomo Sharingan times 9. Grid 3, Satsuki Ashura's Flesh and Blood. Grid 4, Red Armor X 9999. Grid 5, Kamui Sharingan. Left eye. Obviously, the weapon, the sickle, was also taken out from the internal space of the system. It's really Susanoo. At this time, looking at the incomplete blue skull on Chen Yiban's body, Tsunade frowned. At the same time, Kakashi's eye injury was quickly healed. However, for the time being, Kakashi could only use his right eye. The next second, Chen Yiban suddenly took off the Susanoo Phase eye on his body. Then, this gesture. Really? It really looks like the Uchiha Madara statue in the Valley of the End. On the side, countless Anbu ninjas looked at Chen Yiban's image, and couldn't help but exclaimed one by one. Motor. Tsunade couldn't calm down at this moment. Who are you? Princess Tsunade still held on to a last glimmer of hope, hoping that it was not really Uchiha Madara who had been resurrected. At this moment, Chen Yiban also looked at the amazing Tsunade princess with a pair of Mangekyō Sharingan. When I entered the village just now, I heard that the granddaughter of Hashirama became the 5th Hokage. Is that you, the woman? Chen Yiban spoke in a gentle tone, as if he was chatting. So what if it's me? Tsunade waved her hand and continued to shout, whoever you are, I hope you leave Konoha immediately. Otherwise, you will face the attack of all the ninjas in Konoha. Princess Tsunade said this with great vigor. But I don't know if her heart is as calm as she appears to be. I just want to know, how much strength did you inherit from that guy? Chen Yiban gently waved the sickle in his hand, then spoke with a scarlet look and a slight evil smile. And, cough the next second, Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and holding a sickle weapon, rushed towards Tsunade Hime and many other ninjas on the roof of the building as fast as lightning. He's so fast! The ninjas around couldn't help but exclaimed in shock. Capture the invading enemies. Princess Tsunade waved her hand and gave the order. Soon, a group of Anbu ninjas immediately obeyed the order and rushed forward to meet the surging Chen Yiban. Then, bang 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 bang. At the first encounter, more than a dozen Anbu ninjas were kicked and flew backwards, vomiting blood like balls. The speed at which they flew backwards was faster than the speed at which they rushed over. Clang! An Anbu ninja swung his sword at Chen Yiban, but Chen Yiban blocked it with his sickle. And with a slash of the sickle in Chen Yiban's hand, the Anbu ninja was cut in half. Chapter 9. At this moment, in a dark underground base, what's going on out there? What was that vibration just now? Shimura Dance asked out loud after glancing at the two root guards beside him. It seemed like they were ordered to investigate the reason. Just as the guards were about to leave, oink oink. At this moment, 3 other root ninjas suddenly appeared nearby. Danzo-sama, something bad has happened outside. The 3 root ninjas who seemed to have come to deliver the message all looked a little panicked and uncertain. Why are you panicking? Tell me, what's going on? Danzo shouted with a cold look. To this, Master Danzo, it's Uchiha Madara. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara is not dead at all. He has appeared in our Konoha village right now and is slaughtering Anbu ninjas. Strong, he is too strong. Kakashi, Akamichi Choza and all the other Jonin are no match for him. 5th Hokage Tsunade Hime has arrived on the battlefield, and now it seems impossible to stop the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. The 3 root ninjas kept reporting in a hurry. What are you talking about? Danzo couldn't keep calm for a moment. Uchiha Madara. Now, outside, the wide streets of Konoha village, which were once prosperous, now became desolate, with countless civilians scrambling to flee. Even at this moment, there were bloody corpses all over the ground. They are all Konoha Anbu ninjas. Clang! At this time, a tall figure in red armor stood among a large number of corpses and inserted the sickle weapon in his hand into the ground. Oh, it's so ugly. Chen Yiban looked at the dozens of Konoha Anbu ninjas from all directions who were being killed by him like cutting melons and vegetables, with a faint and indifferent smile on his face. Maybe it's because he has accepted the lifelong memory of Uchiha Madara. Chen Yiban has now completely disregarded life without realizing it. Dozens of Konoha Anbu ninjas were slaughtered, the ground was covered with blood, and the smell of blood was extremely pungent. However, Chen Yiban did not feel uncomfortable at all. It seemed as if he was the real Shura from hell. How could it be? At this moment, Kakashi, Kurane Ui, Mitarashi Anko and other ninjas around Princess Tsunade were all looking at the powerful figure in red armor in shock. I can't believe it. The dozens of Anbu ninjas who rushed over just now were defeated by him in less than 10 seconds. Kill them all. Too fast. Ui Kurane and the others couldn't even see Chen Yiban's movements clearly. In the blink of an eye, they saw the Anbu ninjas being beheaded. It's horrible. BD. Tsunade Jiju was shocked at Chen Yiban's strength. Even though there were dozens of Anbu ninjas, she could kill them if she wanted to. But, Chen Yiban was so good at killing them all in 10 seconds. Even Tsunade-ji didn't dare to say that. But Chen Yiban did it directly. He even really looked as if he hadn't tried his best. This strength, it completely shocked every Konoha shinobi present. At this time, What? You don't even dare to do the most basic dance. Chen Yiban opened his scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan and looked calmly at the many Konoha ninjas opposite him, each of whose faces was filled with fear. Motor. Princess Tsunade shouted, what is your purpose? Hearing purpose. Chen Yiban murmured to himself. Then, take back everything that originally belonged to Uchiha Madara. Chen Yiban said something ambiguous. What? Tsunade, Kakashi and others were a little confused. Once upon a time, the alliance between the Uchiha and the Senju was for peace and stability. Hashirama even said that he wanted me to become the first Hokage. But, because of Tobirama's existence, not only did I not become the first Hokage, I instead saw the tragic end where the Uchiha's future was doomed to be wiped out. However, when I told my tribesmen, no one was willing to believe me. At this moment, Chen Yiban seemed to have fallen into the depths of Uchiha Madara's memory again, expressing the original Uchiha Madara's unwillingness. That day, no one left with me. There's no one behind me. As if stimulated by the memories in his mind, Chen Yiban couldn't help feeling sad and angry. Chen Yiban couldn't help but clench his hands holding the sickle weapon. At last, everyone, leave Konoha. I cannot kill you. This was Chen Yiban's last words. Leave. There should have been a place for Uchiha Madara. Now, Chen Yiban wants to take back everything that once belonged to that man for Uchiha Madara. Even if it is just a small reward after obtaining Uchiha Madara's supreme power. Impossible. After hearing this, Tsunade directly punched Chen Yiban to reject him. Kakashi, Asuma, Might Guy and the others took a step forward, all with determined looks on their faces. Even Akamichi Choza, whose arm had just been cut off by Chen Yiban with a Yaita no Megatama, was simply treated and now grew huge again to stand in front of Chen Yiban. See this, Chen Yiban stopped talking. Instead, he held the sickle weapon and said slowly, take a step forward. One step at a time, a group of Konoha shinobi walked towards the front. He was filled with murderous intent and did not try to conceal it at all. Suddenly, some ordinary ninjas couldn't help but retreat in fear. Some even couldn't help but bow their heads and pray. Everyone, cheer up, this is for our sake. Princess Tsunade spoke to boost morale. But, Chen Yiban rushed up directly, not giving her any more time to talk nonsense. Fire style. Asuma launched a ninjutsu first. I told you, Don't show off your skills in front of an expert. Chen Yiban jumped up and shouted angrily in the air. At the same time, temporarily put the sickle weapon into the system's internal space, fire style, great fire extinguishment, boom. The extremely terrifying raging fire was like a giant arrow falling from the sky, rushing towards the Konoha shinobi in front of it at a high speed. Instantly broke through the fire style ninjutsu originally released by Asuma, and quickly attacked Tsunade Hime, Kakashi, and others. In this regard, Tsunade, Kakashi, Yui Kurane, Might Guy and others avoided the fire. However, the fire still burned some Anbu ninjas and civilian ninjas who were unable to dodge into charcoal. Chen Yiban has already taken out the sickle weapon from the system space again. At the same time, call out. Just when Yuanfei Asuma had stood still after avoiding the raging fire, Chen Yiban's Azura-like red figure suddenly appeared in front of him. In an instant, Asuma felt that for a moment, his heartbeat inexplicably stopped. Asuma only woke up when he saw Chen Yiban swinging the sickle in his hand and slashing at his body. Then hold the kunao in hand and prepare to resist. However, Chen Yiban, with waist-length hair, smiled. All of Yuanfei Asuma's actions were exposed without any secrets under the powerful insight of his Mangekyō Sharingan. Swoosh! The sickle that was originally slashing towards Asuma's body strangely changed its attack, and the smooth slash became upwards. Then a streak of blood was seen floating in the air. Asuma covered his throat, blood constantly flowing out of it. Assume. Chapter 10. Assume. With a cry of surprise, as blood continued to flow out of Yuanfei Asuma's throat, his vitality quickly faded away, until he finally fell to the ground. And this cry of sorrow came from Nara Shikamaru. That's right, it seems that all the 12 young warriors of Konoha in the original drama were attracted here. Shikamaru was even more shocked and looked at Yuanfei Asuma, who fell over there in disbelief. Teacher Asuma. Akim Ichichi and Yamanaka Ino also looked incredulous. Asuma. Kurane Yui, who was not far away, was also stunned at this moment. BD. Might Guy rushed towards Chen Yiban with blue steam bursting from his body in anger. During this period, Kakashi also gathered Reikari again, and attacked Chen Yiban from both sides together with Might Guy. I've told you, if you want to fight me, the color of steam you have now is not enough. Chen Yiban shouted arrogantly. But he still engaged in a few punches and kicks with Might Guy. It has to be said that although Might Guy was still no match for Chen Yiban after opening the sixth gate, he was able to hold him back for a while. Just at this time, Kakashi rushed over with Reikari in hand. But now Kakashi no longer has the inside assistance of the Sharingan. Of course, for Kakashi now, the impact is not big. Seeing Asuma's death, Kakashi was filled with anger at this moment, and rushed over as fast as if he was going to pierce Chen Yiban's chest with one blow. Humph, bug! Chen Yiban, who was entangled by Might Guy, showed a disdainful smile. Roar! The next second, powerful eye power and chakra exploded. Susanoo. In the second stage, a long roar towards the sky emerged from Chen Yiban's body. Boom! The powerful explosive force directly knocked back Might Guy and Kakashi. Teacher Kakashi. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto, one of the 12 young strong men and the protagonist of the original drama, looked at the situation at the scene and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Especially seeing the bodies all over the place. Uzumaki Naruto is a bit shocking. That is. On the side, Uchiha Sasuke was also near the battlefield. Then, Urjusa saw Chen Yiban's appearance clearly. You, Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Sasuke recognized Chen Yiban's appearance. Not to mention the huge stone statues of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama in the Valley of the End, you have to know that as a member of the Uchiha clan, Nibali has seen portraits of Uchiha Madara in many homes of the Uchiha clan in the former Uchiha clan territory. As the strongest Uchiha in the past, many members of the Uchiha clan used to worship Uchiha Madara. Therefore, Uchiha Sasuke quickly recognized who Chen Yiban was. Impossible, the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, shouldn't he have already? Urjusa couldn't believe that the super strong man who had died actually appeared in front of him alive. Moreover, he is one's own clan member and ancestor? Why did such an incredible thing suddenly happen when I was already thinking about looking for Orochimaru? Also, so strong. The opponent is really strong. Uchiha Sasuke looked at Chen Yiban, who was almost teasing Kakashi, Might Guy and other Jonin, and felt extremely confused. Snake Shadow Lurking Hand. At this time, Mitarashi Anko launched a special ninjutsu, and multiple poisonous tongues shot from her hands towards Chen Yiban. Stupid! Chen Yiban sneered. With a thought, the huge Susanoo simply waved its hand and directly dispersed Mitarashi Anko's attack. You don't have much time left. Leave Konoha as soon as possible. Chen Yiban seemed to be giving a final ultimatum. Period. Chen Yiban glanced at the positions of the two little guys, Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. Ashura and Indra in this life. Their strength seems to be very good. Chen Yiban had made up his mind, but he did not show it on the surface. The other side, don't be so proud, BD. Princess Tsunade suddenly flew up. A punch hit the body of Susanoo too hard. Click. The second-level Susanoo was still not strong enough, and a crack appeared on it after being hit by Princess Tsunade's angry punch. Oh! Chen Yiban pretended to be slightly surprised and said, Hashirama's strange power. It's just that you don't seem to have learned it yet. Whoosh! The next second, Susanoo recovered completely. How can I repair it? Princess Tsunade was a little unwilling. I want to punch and kick again. But, bang! Susanoo condensed a huge chakra knife in her hand and slashed it down. Princess Tsunade had to step away. You are just a woman. Do you think you can be the same as Hashirama? Even if you are his descendant. Chen Yiban clasped his arms across his chest in the blue Susanoo, with a proud look on his face, glancing at Princess Tsunade outside. The most powerful thing I inherited from my great-grandfather, is Konoha's will of fire. Princess Tsunade shouted in a resounding voice. The will of fire. Chen Yiban raised his eyebrows and sneered, what a stupid joke. The only thing that can be inherited is hatred. Chen Yiban continued to speak meaningfully. Who is that guy? And what is that blue thing? It's so strong. It can even withstand Grandma Tsunade's punch. Uzumaki Naruto exclaimed. Shut up. Suddenly, Might Guy appeared behind Chen Yiban's blue Susanoo. Boom. A heavy kick landed on Susanoo's back. The force was no less than Princess Tsunade's attack just now, and even stronger. Because Susanoo had two cracks at this time. What will happen? Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but worry about Chen Yiban. Also at this time, Earth Style. Times and Kakashi had gathered countless Konoha shinobi who knew Earth Style at some point. Then all of them released the Earth Style technique towards Chen Yiban at the same time. Boom! Suddenly, one saw row after row of huge earth walls, earth balls and earth blocks, covering Chen Yiban who was in Susanoo in the middle from all directions. During this time, Kakashi and the others didn't care about the houses of the Konoha villagers around them. All of them were covered by the earth wall and fell on Susanoo. In response to this, Chen Yiban opened his scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan and looked at it indifferently. Boom! Finally, like a mountain pressing down on its head, the huge Susanoo was trapped in the middle by rows of even larger earth walls. In an instant, smoke and dust billowed. Hurry! Princess Tsunade waved her hand at the right time. Then, fire style. There were countless fire style ninjas, who unleashed all kinds of fire style ninjutsu on Susanoo and Chen Yiban who were trapped by the earth wall. During this time, Nara Shikamaru, who was among the people who had come to the dead Asuma, looked at the place being attacked by everyone with hatred. Chapter 11. Killing Yuanfei Asuma, achieving a medium achievement once, congratulations, medium achievement lottery once. Killed Konoha Anbu Ninja 32 people, achieved the primary achievement 3 times, congratulations and get, primary achievement lottery. 3 times. In the void, the system is prompting. Although the timing of the reminder is not right. Now, earth style and fire style of countless ninjas in Konoha. In the end, this large area of Konoha Street was burned like a volcanic lava. Chen Yiban was buried under the volcanic rock together with his Susanoo stage 2. Did you see that? This is the power of the will of fire within us. Princess Tsunade looked at the scene buried under the lava and couldn't help but scream out. Kakashi, Shikaku, you two did a great job. Tsunade looked at Kakashi and Nara Shikaku standing aside. It was Nara Shikaku who came up with the plan of joint attack, and Kakashi was responsible for executing it. As Konoha's think tank, Nara Shikaku could only think of this method to launch an effective attack on Chen Yiban for the time being. Uchiha Madara. So powerful! How could the strongest man in our clan, who was once said to be the strongest man in our clan, be killed just like that? Among the ninjas watching on the side of the battlefield, Uchiha Sasuke was a little bit unconvinced, or rather unwilling. Although it is normal to die when being besieged by so many ninjas. But, he is the most powerful clan leader of the Uchiha clan. How could a strong man who is as famous as Senju Hashirama, who is known as the god of ninja, just... What happened? Why did the man in red armor kill Uncle Asuma? At this time, Uzumaki Naruto seemed to be a little confused about the situation. That man, seems to be the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Among the 12 young strong men at this moment, Tenten beside Niji murmured in disbelief. It is incredible that the legendary super strong man Uchiha Madara is still alive. But if I say it's not, the other person's appearance is really too similar to the stone statue of Uchiha Madara in the Valley of the End. Furthermore, the strength of that one man against many ninjas, including the current 5th Hokage Tsunade-sama, seemed to prove the truth of the other party's identity as Uchiha Madara. You, Uchiha Madara! Uzumaki Naruto cried out in shock. The legendary ninja, wasn't he already dead a long time ago? Naruto continued to ask in surprise and confusion. It's not clear, he is not dead yet. But why is he still so young? Niji was also confused. Teacher Asuma. Shikamaru, Ino, and Chiji all looked at Asuma on the ground sadly. Having the same feeling is also Janin. Ui Kurane. 5th Hokage, has the other party already? At this time, Kakashi came to Princess Tsunade, hesitant to speak. Of course Kakashi hopes that the other party will be killed. But, it's too easy. Right. It's just too easy. How could the legendary ninja be like this? Moreover, Kakashi just saw that Chen Yiban didn't put up any resistance and just watched them perform earth style and fire style indifferently. For some reason, Kakashi felt very uneasy. In this regard, Princess Tsunade, who had just finished making bold statements, now frowned a little. Kakashi. Then, Princess Tsunade was about to say something to Kakashi. But, puff! A huge blue Susanoo chakra sword suddenly emerged from the ground beneath Princess Tsunade. Then it instantly pierced through Tsunade's entire chest. Hokage adults. Kakashi's pupils quake. Countless Anbu ninjas and civilian ninjas nearby also exclaimed. Grandma Tsunade. On this side, Uzumaki Naruto was also shocked. To this, a red figure in a blue Susanoo Nikai slowly emerged from the soil. Although Uchiha Madara is not Grandmaster Earth style, it does not mean that it cannot be done. With the use of Earth style like this, Chen Yiban, who has obtained all the power of Moda Law, can certainly do it easily. The so-called will of fire you mentioned is worthless in my eyes. Looking at Princess Tsunade who was directly pierced by his second-level Susanoo, Chen Yiban spoke coldly. Damn it, he's still alive. Kakashi couldn't help but feel angry. Ahole! Let go of Grandma Tsunade. On the other side, Uzumaki Naruto suddenly rushed to the middle of the battlefield. And quickly separated the shadow clone and condensed a raised Nan for himself on his right hand. What the hell? Looking at Naruto rushing out, Sasuke couldn't help but recall the battle on the rooftop not long ago. The next second, Sasuke clenched his fists unwillingly. When Chen Yiban heard the noise, he couldn't help but open his blood-red Mangekyō Sharingan and glanced at Uzumaki Naruto. Instantly, a nine-tails kitten inside Uzumaki Naruto instantly woke up. This power is even colder than my chakra. Madara. How is it possible that he is still alive? Kurama was sweating with fear. At the same time, sensing that Naruto was actually rushing towards that guy, Nine-Tails immediately, call out forcefully pull Naruto into the sealed space. Hey, Nine-Tails, why did you bring me here? I need to save Grandma Tsunade. Naruto suddenly came to the sealed space. After being stunned for a moment, he reacted and immediately pointed at Kurama and shouted. Shut up! You little brat! Kurama yelled. Do you know who that guy is? You approached that man so easily, do you want to die, little brat? Nine-Tails yelled. Hearing this, Naruto rubbed his chin. Niji and Tenten said that the guy who killed Uncle Asuma might be the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara. After hearing what Naruto said, Nine-Tails became even more upset. Is it really that man? Seeing this, Naruto felt that the Nine-Tails demon fox at this moment was a little different from usual. Hey, Nine-Tails, you seem a little scared. Naruto scratched his head. Stop talking nonsense. Anyway, kid, get away from that man right now. The farther the better. Nine-Tails yelled angrily. Why? Naruto still asked. No reason. Nine Tails shouted. And the next moment, Naruto was sent back to the outside world. Leave immediately. Naruto returned to the outside world and heard a reminder from Nine Tails in his spiritual world. No, Grandma Tsunade is in danger now, I can't not save her. Naruto shook his head. Baka. Who do you think you are? Senju Hashirama. Nine Tails was anxious and cursed, if you dare to make me become a pet under the power of that man again, I will tear you to pieces, you self-righteous brat. Chapter 12. The legendary Uchiha who was the first to activate the Mangekyō Sharingan is indeed, so strong. Looking at Chen Yiban's blue Suzanu's second stage chakra sword piercing through Princess Tsunade at this moment, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Just now, so many ninjas used fire style and earth style one after another. Chen Yiban was actually fine, not even a scratch. Uchiha Sasuke was surprised by this. But, it seems that this is how the strongest clan leader of their Uchiha clan used to be. Now, although he was a genin of Konoha and the other party was an enemy who invaded Konoha, at this moment, Hashira couldn't help but hope that the Uchiha senior in front of him would win a great victory. Always smiling. They are always smiling. It's time for the rest of Konoha to experience what it feels like to lose everything. Urshiosa couldn't help thinking this with a dark heart at this moment. Here, Chen Yiban looked at Princess Tsunade who was pretending to be dead on the tip of his Susanoo chakra. Then he noticed something and glanced at Uzumaki Naruto. It was indeed Uzumaki Naruto's behavior that attracted Chen Yiban's attention for a while. Don't be impatient. Nine Tails, wait a minute, I'll come put the collar on you. Looking at Naruto, Chen Yiban's scarlet pupils smiled as if he saw the Nine Tails kitten inside the other person's body. Damn motor! Kurama yelled angrily inside Naruto's body. But more. Yes, disgust and uneasiness. Click. At this moment, Chen Yiban was heard talking to Nine Tails. Tsunade suddenly jumped up and cut off Suzanu's second-level chakra sword with one hand. Don't even think about touching Naruto. Tsunade shouted angrily. At the same time, bang! He stepped forward and kicked hard on the Susanoo. Second stage on Chen Yiban's body. Immediately, several cracks appeared on the not-so-strong Susanoo stage 2. What a powerful force, worthy of being Hokage. Might Guy couldn't help but sigh. Tsunade wanted to beat Susanoo in front of Arrancar thoroughly, so she continued to swing her fist heavily, go to hell. However, what no one expected was that Chen Yiban took the initiative to put out Susanoo at this moment, and also confronted the angry Tsunade with his fists. In an instant, when the two powerful fists collided, the chakra that burst out swept up a violent energy force and attacked in all directions. Only Princess Tsunade's fist was blocked. How could this happen? All Konoha shinobi were shocked. You. Even Tsunade herself was looking at Chen Yiban in front of her with an expression of disbelief. She couldn't believe it. Is there anyone who dares to challenge me head-on in terms of strength? Even, not inferior to her at all. Tsunade-ji couldn't believe it. To this, if it was Hashirama, I would not confront him head-on like this. But your words. Just a grain of sand, not even half as good as me. Chen Yiban opened his scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan and looked at the shocked Tsunade in front of him with extreme disdain. Then boom, the terrifying chakra is radiated through the fist. Instantly, she suppressed Princess Tsunade, who had always been proud of her strength, in terms of strength. What? After being beaten back again and again, Princess Tsunade looked completely incredulous. Did I lose in the strength that I have always been proud of? How could it be? At this moment, Chen Yiban dodged swiftly as if no one was attacking him. Then, click! With his scarlet eyes wide open, Chen Yiban dodged and then, with a simple and direct yet irresistible move, he pinched something invisible with his hand. But soon, I saw that some ninjutsu failed. A Konoha shinobi who looked a little sick was now being strangled by the throat by Chen Yiban's big black-gloved hand. Moonlight Gale in the original drama. In the plot, shouldn't he have just died at the hands of the ninjas from the Hidden Sand Village? How are you still alive? Are there any minor changes to the plot? Well, it doesn't matter. It's better if I'm not dead, give me another chance to win the achievement lottery. Humans have always said they love light, but, they always resort to shameful and dark means. Looking at the Moonlight Gale whose throat he was strangling, Chen Yiban spoke so softly as if he was talking to himself. Gale. At this moment, a beautiful figure with purple hair among the Konoha shinobi nearby looked at the moonlight gale in Chen Yiban's hand very nervously. Let him go. The next second, she rushed towards Chen Yiban with a sword in hand. Maybe she was anxious to save her lover, so she didn't care about swordsmanship or ninjutsu at all and rushed forward eagerly. During this time, Moonlight Gale was still struggling to death, swinging the sharp blade in his hand towards Chen Yiban's neck. But, Shua! Chen Yiban's movements were still as simple and swift as ever, he directly grabbed his opponent's hand with his backhand. Then with a puff, Chen Yiban took the moonlight wind and pierced his hand, letting the weapon in his hand kill him and penetrate his throat. In an instant, the sharp blade pierced from the front to the back of the neck. Oops! Moonlight Gale suddenly vomited blood from his mouth. And his body quickly collapsed to the ground. In response, Uzuki Ujio ran halfway. If you just stare blankly at the moonlight and the wind slowly fall to the ground. A hole! Uzumaki Naruto shouted angrily on the side. He was even so arrogant as to want to rush up and beat Chen Yiban. Fortunately, Niji, Tenten, Shikamaru, Chiji and other Konoha strongmen stopped the impulsive Naruto. Calm down, Naruto. We can't possibly be the opponent of such a strong man. In a fight like this, we can only watch. Shikamaru grabbed Naruto's shoulders and persuaded him. If possible, Shikamaru also wants to avenge Asuma himself. But, it's impossible, the gap in strength is too big. Even the Hokage, Tsunade Hime and Kakashi couldn't say they could defeat that kind of enemy. Naruto, don't go over and disturb Lord Hokage and Sensei Kakashi. Harano Sakura came over and punched Naruto helplessly. On the other side, Yui Kurane glanced at Uzuki Ujio who was standing there not far away, and then looked at Asuma. A pair of red eyes Winchnin couldn't help but well up with tears. In this regard, Chen Yiban didn't care at all about who he killed. He only knew that the system prompt in the void told him that he had one more chance to sign in for his primary achievement. 8 inner gates, 7th gate, shock gate, open. Watching Chen Yiban slaughter 2 of his friends and dozens of Konoha Anbu ninjas in succession, Might Guy was completely furious and directly opened the 7th gate. You are unforgivable. Day Tiger. Chapter 13. Guy. Looking at the Might Guy who was opening the 7th gate of the 8 inner gates, Kakashi was moved. At this moment, the blue-green steam on Might Guy's body was extremely dazzling. The chakra reaction on the body is even more amazing. The ninjas who were watching from all directions were all terrified. Teacher Guy. In the distance, Xiao Li's eyes were filled with tears of excitement. That kind of power. Niji couldn't help but open his Byakugan bloodline, and then saw more clearly how strong and huge the chakra in Might Guy's body was at this moment. Oh! Chen Yiban noticed Might Guy's condition again at this time. Just the 7th gate. It's still not red steam. It seems. I'm still being underestimated. Or is it that you can only drive as far as the 7th gate at the moment? Chen Yiban still had a faint smile on his face at this time. He didn't seem to care at all how powerful the chakra on Might Guy was at this moment. However, Chen Yiban still took Susanoo a step further. Susanoo Phase 3 is released. That is, the stage of Susanoo with 2 legs, 2 faces, 4 arms, and dozens of meters tall that appeared at the barbecue restaurant at the beginning. This is enough. Chen Yiban said with a faint smile on his face. Then, welcome the power from the blue beast of Konoha. Day Tiger. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Might Guy jumped up and came in front of Susanoo. Punch! Roar! In an instant, Might Guy's fist exploded into a violent air cannon. And it miraculously formed the posture of a white tiger. Roaring like this, he attacked the huge Susanoo several dozen meters in front of him. Stage 3. During this period, Chen Yiban, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The two-faced, 4-armed Susanoo Sandan, condensed 8 Megatama with his 4 large hands at the same time. Suddenly, 4 shots were fired. Then, looking at the surging daytime tiger air cannon, Chen Yiban's mind moved, and Susanoo immediately threw out 4 8-board Megatama. Clang boom! Suddenly, the 4-shot and 8-board Megatama and the day tiger's air cannon collided with each other. The explosive shock wave blew everything in all directions far away. Waka, Zge! Chen couldn't help but exclaim while Naruto was being blown away. Lord Tsunade, are you okay? Shizuan ran over to Princess Tsunade worriedly. Shizuan, I'm fine. Tsunade Hime Kide. Lord Tsunade, the seal on your forehead, have you used the ninja art, mitotic regeneration? Shizuan looked at Princess Tsunade in front of him and couldn't help but be surprised. At this time, the diamond-shaped crystal between Tsunade's eyebrows had disappeared. His whole body is also covered with some kind of black chakra runes. It was Princess Tsunade who had unlocked the 100 healings mark that stored chakra all year round, and used the ninja art, mitotic regeneration to heal the chest injury that had just been pierced by Chen Yiban's Susanoo. In this regard, Princess Tsunade no longer answered Shizuan, and her eyes were fixed on the 4 Yatake no Megatama and Daytime Tiger that were surging and fighting each other. Period. When a handful of 8-board Megatama hits the Daytime Tiger, it has little effect. Zhu continued to attack with full momentum. However, when using the 2 Yagetsu no Megatama, Hirudo's speed was obviously slower. When there are 3 or 4, the Day Tiger almost became a turtle. It actually stopped the Day Tiger. At this time, Might Guy's whole body turned red and blue steam continued to evaporate. But he looked surprised. My understanding of the power of the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara became even deeper. As expected, he is the legendary ninja Shura, Uchiha Madara. But my youth has not yet ended. To the peacock. Might Guy, who opened the 7th gate in succession, now continued to use the taijutsu attack on the peacock that he could use at the 6th gate. Boom boom boom. In an instant, countless red air cannons blasted forward like peacocks. Then, together with the Daytime Tiger just now, attacked the 4-shot 8-board Megatama. Interesting. Chen Yiban smiled coldly. Then Susanoo's 4 big hands condensed 4 chakra knives, and continuously slashed out sharp knife lights. Bang bang bang. Both sides continued to launch offensive attacks. The powerful shock wave tore apart all the Konoha houses within a few hundred meters. Not good. Everyone, step back. At this time, Tsunade realized that the 2 forces in the middle were about to completely collapse and explode. So immediately look at all the Konoha shinobi in all directions and let them run for their lives. At the same time, Tsunade herself also quickly dodged and retreated. Sure enough, very quickly, boom, a violent explosion sounded. The shock wave that erupted instantly tore apart all the Konoha houses within a 1-kilometer radius. Even though Kakashi, Narashikaku, Akamichi Choza, Naruto, Niji and many other Konoha shinobi tried their best to jump and run a long distance, they were still blown away by the violent shock wave. Guy. Kakashi finally grabbed Naruto, little Sakura and Sasuke and hid under a wall to avoid the impact. At the same time, Chunin couldn't help but worry about Might Guy. To this, Tada! The 7th gate was opened, and Might Guy, whose whole body was flushed red, used his hands to block the strong shock wave and fell to the ground not far from Kakashi. Ha, heyu! Might Guy breathed heavily. Very tired. Guy! Kakashi yelled. Teacher thick eyebrows. Naruto also spoke up. During this time, Haruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke were also looking at Might Guy in amazement. I guess he didn't expect Might Guy to have such a powerful secret technique. Kakashi, Hiragatari and Asako are all powerless against the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara. At this time, Might Guy glanced at Kakashi who was not far away, and said this in the direction of Chen Yiban. At the same time, Might Guy has already made a decision in his mind. I'll say this one last time. If you leave Konoha, I won't kill you. At this moment, floating above the head of Susanoo. 3rd Order, Chen Yiban stared coldly at Tsunade Hime, Might Guy and the others with a pair of scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan. Damn it, how did my grandfather fight a one-on-one battle with such a being? Tsunade Jixinchinen couldn't help feeling powerless. Might Guy has opened 7th gate. He couldn't do anything to the other party. At this moment, Chen Yiban was on Susanoo's head and was not hurt at all. Even, Susanoo wasn't broken. Uchiha Madara. It's really so strong that it makes people despair. Swish, 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 swish. At this moment, suddenly more Konoha shinobi learned about the battle and came here. During this time, we can see that the people who came are, Akamichi clan, Nara clan, Yamanaka clan. The Byakugan, which is as famous as the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, and the head of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hayashi, also arrived at the battlefield with many Byakugan ninjas. In an instant, the number of ninjas around the battlefield was no less than 1,000. Chapter 14. Naruto-kun. Hyuga Hinata, who had just followed his clan leader father Hyuga Hayashi to the battlefield here, couldn't help but look at Uzumaki Naruto, who was beside Kakashi and the others not far away. That is, looking at the dozens of meters tall blue Susanoo level 3, Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help but frown. Then, Hokage, the current situation is, the other party is really a legendary ninja. Hyuga Hayashi turned around and came to Tsunade Hime and asked hesitantly. To this, my great-grandfather's only rival. Uchiha Madara. Princess Tsunade spoke as she looked at the blue Susanoo that was dozens of meters tall. At the same time, looking at the thousands of elite ninjas from various families who had come to the battlefield, everyone. I'm sorry to tell you that the man on the blue Susanoo's head may be the strongest enemy Konoha has encountered in the past 50 years. His name, Uchiha Madara. Whether we can protect Konoha, this time, it depends on the strength of all of us. I saw that Princess Tsunade was trying her best to boost morale at this moment. At the same time, it was also telling the ninjas from the Hyuga clan, Yamanaka clan, Nara clan, and many other Konoha clans who had just arrived how critical the current situation was. The legendary ninja. Uchiha Madara. How is that possible? Wasn't he already dead a long time ago? Yes, how can such a strong man still be alive? Besides, that blue monster feels so cold and powerful. Can we really defeat such an enemy? He is a legendary super powerful man who is as famous as the first Hokage, who is called the god of ninja by everyone. After hearing what Princess Tsunade said, countless ninjas at the scene expressed their confusion. Also at this time, with so many rabble coming, I seem to be in a very disadvantageous situation. I saw Chen Yiban with his hands clasped in front of his chest, inside the blue Susanoo level 3. However, he said that his situation had become unfavorable. However, what appeared on the corners of his mouth was not sadness, but a sneer of extreme contempt. Chen Yiban doesn't take all the ninjas in Konoha seriously at all. A whole. Tsunade also noticed the disdain on Chen Yiban's face, and she couldn't help but clench her fists in resentment and unwillingness. At this time, so what if it's the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara? We have many companions around us now, but you are alone. Kakashi walked out from behind a wall and said this in a slightly high-pitched voice. Oh. Chen Yiban's smile deepened, and he continued to jokingly say, is that so? Saying, the next second, Susanoo slowly formed a seal. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The next moment, dozens of identical figures appeared out of thin air beside Chen Yiban. And one by one they quickly jumped down from Susanoo and came in front of the Konoha shinobi. Indeed, a full 30 shadow clones of Chen Yiban. Obviously, didn't you say I was alone? So, what now? It's shadow clone. Why would this damn guy do it too? Naruto said with his eyes wide open. On the side, Uchiha Sasuke was feeling mixed emotions at the moment. Little Sakura looked at the dozens of meters tall Susanoo, her eyes filled with fear. Ask a question. These shadow clones, with or without Susanoo. Inside Susanoo's head, Chen Yiban at this time used his scarlet Mangekyō Sharingan eyes to ask all the Konoha shinobi in front of him with a faint smile. This. Tsunade was shocked when she thought of something. And it seemed to deliberately confirm Tsunade's shocked guess. Swish, 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 swish. 30 shadow clones, all bursting with blue power, finally gathered into one blue Susanoo level 3 statue several dozen meters tall. Almost exactly the same as the Susanoo of Chen Yiban's original character in the following. And 30. It directly blocks the entire view in front. Only the blue scenery is left. How is this possible? Princess Tsunade, Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke, Little Sakura, Kurane Yui, Mitarashi Anko, Ino and every Konoha shinobi, all looked incredulous at this moment. Extremely shocked. How can there be so many? This is too exaggerated. During this time, Kakashi couldn't help but want to slap himself in the face. Damn, why did I talk so much just now? To this, boom 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 boom. The Konoha shinobi were in shock and full of flaws. Would the 30 shadow clones of Chen Yiban just sit there and watch? It's just about swinging the sword or throwing the 8-board Megatama. Just start doing it suddenly. The 8-slab Megatama, the sword light of Susanoo chakra. They are all extremely fast and terrifyingly powerful. Ah! In an instant, there was a lot of wailing. The sword light of Yasuda's Megatama and Susanoo chakra took away countless lives at once. Kill 10 Konoha shinobi and achieve a primary achievement once. Congratulations! Get, Primary Achievement Lottery. 1 time. Killed Akamichi Dingzuo, achieved a medium achievement once, congratulations, medium achievement lottery once. Behead, Akamichi Dingzuo had one arm cut off by Chen Yiban's original body. At this moment, he fell under the siege of 2 Susanoo level 3s. He fell down after several huge blue chakra swords pierced his enlarged heart. Dosen. Not far away, Akimichichi, who was also fighting, cried out in sorrow. A hole. The next moment he took the pill and turned into a butterfly and rushed to rescue him. Chichi, don't be impulsive. Shikamaru shouted. He was rational and knew that there was no way that he and his genin could fight against a legendary super-powerful being like Uchiha Madara. However, Chichi has already lost control and cannot be stopped. Boom. The next second, Susanoo easily punched Chichi, who had transformed into a butterfly. Although butterfly transformation is powerful, it depends on who you are facing. The next second, the third level Susanoo continued to swing his sword towards Akimichichi. Prepare to send the father and son down to meet each other. Ugh. Chichi was already vomiting blood and couldn't dodge. It seems that I will really become a dead soul under Susanoo's sword. Swoosh. A green figure appeared in time and kicked away Susanoo's chakra knife. Exactly, Might Guy. Day Tiger, roar then. Might Guy once again released the super physical technique Daytime Tiger under 7th gate. Directly forced Susanoo in front of him to retreat. Saved Akimichichi. However, there are 30 Susanoo. Level 3 on the field now. The Konoha shinobi are being slaughtered. 8 trigrams Gale Palm. Hyuga Hayashi and his people are now fighting against so many Susanoo. But it's extremely tiring. A hole. Die. Princess Tsunade kept fighting. However, Susanoo level 3 was no longer something she could easily shake. Ugh. The next second, an 8-barreled Megatama was seen directly inserted into Tsunade's abdomen. If ninja art, mitotic regeneration hadn't been turned on, Princess Tsunade would have died long ago. They are indeed a bunch of rabble. Chen Yiban's real body was looking at them coldly. In this regard, on the side, Might Guy seemed to have made up his mind at this time, and stared at Chen Yiban's real body with a firm gaze. Chapter 15. At this time, Chen Yiban, who was holding his arms across his chest in Susanoo, also noticed the changes in Might Guy at this moment. It seems that you have finally made up your mind. I have to say, I'm looking forward to it. Chen Yiban opened his blood-red Mangekyō Sharingan with a smile on his face. The power of the obtained Uchiha Madara is too strong. At this moment, Chen Yiban inexplicably longed for an opponent who could truly make him look at him in the face. To this, Kakashi. Might Guy suddenly spoke up not far away, and looked at Kakashi, who was trying his best to fight against Chen Yiban's shadow clone Susanoo. Kakashi is now seriously injured. The arms and abdomen were bleeding and injured. But he still insisted on concentrating chakra with other Konoha shinobi and releasing ninjutsu to attack those Susanoo 3rd stage. Then, I suddenly heard the voice of my best friend, Guy. Kakashi also retreated a distance, separating himself from those Susanoo 3rd stage, and looked in the direction of Might Guy in the distance. Kakashi, this time, I win. Might Guy and Kakashi looked at each other and suddenly said this. Might Guy and Kakashi are lifelong rivals. The two of them have been engaged in various long-term competitions. During this period, it can be said that Might Guy lost more than he won. However, Might Guy thinks he should be the winner this time. Guy, what do you want to do? Kakashi had a bad feeling in his heart. Also at this time, Zheng. All of Chen Yiban's shadow clones Susanoo. Level 3 at the scene stopped attacking. Even, whoosh, 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 whoosh. All disappeared. All chakras returned to Chen Yiban's body. Chen Yiban knows what Might Guy wants to do. Therefore, of course, it is best to take back all the power in one person as much as possible. Because what we are about to face, is very likely to be a 6 paths level physical skill. Even Chen Yiban, who possessed the power to create Madara's full combat capability, did not dare to be arrogant in the slightest. At this moment, it can be said that the only person in the entire Konoha who can make Chen Yiban feel serious about it. Only, Might Guy. So, Chen Yiban removed the shadow clones that were teasing many Konoha shinobi. Concentrate all your strength on the main body. This can be considered as a kind of respect for the strongest physical opponent who is about to come. Guy, have you reached that level? Seeing that Chen Yiban's shadow clone had disappeared at the scene, Tsunade jumped at the right time and came not far from Might Guy, then looked at Might Guy in front of her with a little surprise and hope. Hokage-sama, please keep everyone at the scene away as much as possible. Because, Konoha's blue beast wants to bloom all its youth for Konoha. Might Guy, however, has slowly lowered his body and is gathering strength. In this regard, Chen Yiban can disturb Might Guy. But Chen Yiban didn't. But Chen Yiban won't just do nothing. Squeak! Suddenly, blood started flowing out of Chen Yiban's right eye and Suzanu's head. It turned out that Chen Yiban dug out his original right eye. Mangekyō Sharingan. Then, put it into the system's internal space without anyone noticing. At the same time, he performed a simple medical ninjutsu and pressed on the bleeding right eye again. The next second, the medical ninjutsu was put away and Chen Yiban's hand moved away. A3 Megatama Sharingan appeared in the eye socket of the right eye. In this way, Chen Yiban's left eye is in the Mangekyō writing state, while his right eye is in the normal 3 Megatama state. It was supposed to take back the power of Shadow Clone and strengthen the main body's combat power, but why did it switch to the normal 3 Tomo Sharingan to reduce its own combat power? Teacher Guy. Here, Xiao Li seemed to understand Might Guy's determination, and looked at his teacher Might Guy with tears in his eyes again. To this, Xiao Li. Be brave and carry out your youth. Might Guy glanced in the direction of his own disciples in the distance. Then, under the gaze of countless Konoha shinobi from all directions, 8 inner gates formation. 8th gate, Death Gate, open. Might Guy roared as he gathered all his strength. Boom! In an instant, blood-red steam exploded. Might Guy seemed to have turned into a bloody man with blood steam all over his body, looking as hideous as if he had been roasted. Teacher Guy. Xiao Li burst into tears. Zheng Hu. At this time, the powerful chakra erupting from Might Guy continued to vibrate the air, forming strong winds one after another, sweeping in all directions. Guy. While raising his hands to block the strong wind, Kakashi looked at the blood-red figure with shock. In Chin's mind, he could not stop recalling the scene when he and his father first met Might Guy as a child. At that time, Kakashi's father, Hatake Sakumo, said at the time, Might Guy will definitely become a very powerful ninja in the future. Little Kakashi at that time didn't take it seriously. But, at this moment, father, you are right. Kakashi's eyes were now filled with admiration and amazement. Period, this power. Hyuga Hayashi, Hyuga Niji, Hyuga Hinata and many other members of the Hyuga clan who had Byakugan opened their Byakugan at this moment, and then, one by one, they looked at Might Guy with blood-red steam bursting out of his body in amazement. Guy. Tsunade looked at him with admiration. At the same time, I feel deeply regretful. Because we know what will happen after the 8 inner gates opens the 8th gate. But this chakra is really too powerful. Even the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara could not defeat Might Guy, who was unleashing absolute power at the cost of his life at this moment. To this chakra, this blood-red steam. I recognize you as a guy. Then let's dance. Chen Yiban, who was in the 3rd level of Susanoo, felt inexplicably excited at this moment. Zhang. The next moment, Chen Yiban's left eye, Eternal Mangekyō Sharingan suddenly opened. I will also fight hard. Boom. Suddenly, Chen Yiban's Susanoo level 3 suddenly grew larger. Finally, it turned into a bloated Susanoo with a body size of more than 80 meters. At the scene, countless Konoha shinobi were stunned. However, it's not over yet. Certainly. Chen Yiban slowly smiled and clenched his right fist. Shua. Zheng zheng zheng. The bloated Susanoo state suddenly grew in size, and even appeared in the shape of blue armor. Until the end. The Susanoo complete form that appeared in the original drama stands in front of every Konoha shinobi. Chapter 16. Because now Chen Yiban only has one eternal Mangekyō, so at this moment, Susanoo complete form is only about 130 meters. It's not over 200 meters like in the original drama Uchiha Madara. But, compared to the Susanoo 3rd stage which was only about 40 meters long just now, the Susanoo complete form at this time is already large enough. It can be said that it has skyrocketed more than 3 times. So big. Princess Tsunade, at this moment, looked at the complete form of Susanoo in front of her with an expression of disbelief. This. Kakashi, Narashikaku, Yui Kurane, Mitarashi Anko, and countless other elite ninjas of Konoha were all stunned. This power gap. Too big. Uchiha Madara, is he still really human? Yui Kurane couldn't help but murmur to herself. Is this the strongest person our clan once was? Such power, if I had such power. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes widened. I long to possess such a powerful force. Then, take revenge on that man. It's as terrifying as a tailed beast. Hyuga Hayashi couldn't help but exclaim. So-called wisdom seems too powerless in the face of absolute strength. Narashikaku clenched his fists with a look of unwillingness and helplessness. Orochimaru is nothing compared to this guy. Mitarashi Anko couldn't help but sigh with a confused look on his face. As a former disciple of Orochimaru, Mitarashi Anko certainly knows how terrifying Orochimaru's strength is. Especially since Orochimaru had planned the invasion of Konoha not long ago. It even led to the death of the old man third Hokage, the strongest Hokage in history. This kind of Orochimaru has an extremely terrifying sense of oppression. However, looking at the more than 130-meter tall Susanoo complete form in front of him at this moment, Anko, who is Orochimaru. At this time, also in Konoha village, on the roof of a building far away from the battlefield, that is. Shimura Dans, with a large group of root ninjas, was watching the battlefield from a distance. At this moment, Danzo saw the terrifyingly huge Susanoo complete form. At that moment, even I, Shimura Dans, this old BD, couldn't believe it. And behind him, the group of root ninjas were all stunned at this time. 2 faces and 4 arms. It's really the legendary. By now, Danzo had to believe that the legendary ninja Shura Uchiha Madara had really been resurrected. As one of the former disciples of the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, Shimura Dans certainly knew something about the legendary Uchiha Madara. At least, have seen the drawings of the legendary Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. At last. On the battlefield, Motor Might Guy, whose 8 gate was fully opened, was staring at Chen Yiban in front of him with his whole body flushed. Then, Xi. Xiang. Boom. Might Guy rushed out. The target is Chen Yiban in Susanoo. Complete form. Everyone, retreat, temporarily withdraw from the battlefield. At this moment, Tsunade reacted and remembered Might Guy's request to ask everyone to stay away from the battlefield. He immediately turned around and shouted to all the Konoha shinobi around him. Guy. Kakashi glanced at his best friend's blood-red back as he walked forward courageously. In the end, Kakashi chose to trust his longtime rival and best friend, Might Guy. Soon, countless Konoha shinobi began to retreat quickly and temporarily leave the battlefield. To this, come on. Please me. Chen Yiban's left eye eternal Mangekyō Sharingan burst out with powerful scarlet pupil power, and he laughed fiercely. Then, with a thought, the huge Susanoo. Complete form faced 8 gate Guy head-on. At the same time, in Susanoo, Chen Yiban quickly formed 3 seals with his hands. Zhang. A certain technique was activated. Almost at the same time, Susanoo's huge fist clashed with 8 gate Guy. But, Zixiang. Boom. The huge fist of Susanoo's complete form shattered. During this time, Evening Elephant erupted with a violent gust of wind, which instantly tore apart more than 100 meters of land under Susanoo's feet. It's worthy of the power beneath the blood-red steam. Chen Yiban still had a smile on his face and showed no sign of panic. The next second, he directly infused his eye power and chakra into restoring Susanoo's complete form's fist. But, boom 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 boom. 8 gate Guy didn't stop at all. Instead, he didn't dare to give Chen Yiban any time to react. He continued to bombard the complete form of Susanoo with countless terrible kicks. Crack. In the end, even the complete form of Susanoo had many cracks and some parts were even severely damaged. You Guy, haha. There was an inexplicable excitement on Chen Yiban's face. 8 gate Guy's Evening Elephant is already so powerful. What if it's Night Guy? It's really shocking and inexplicably exciting. Period. Teacher thick eyebrows, SG. Uzumaki Naruto couldn't help but exclaim when he saw that 8 gate Guy could actually suppress the perfect form of Susanoo that was as big as a tailed beast. I can't see his movements at all. Uchiha Sasuke opened his scarlet Sharingan, but was completely unable to capture the figure of Might Guy in his current state. Guy, show us what you call the power of youth. Kakashi's eyes were full of recognition and trust in his best friend. Guy, break that BDS shell. Tsunade shouted loudly through the air with her fists clenched. Now, snap. Might Guy, however, felt as if his bones were being torn apart by a powerful force, as if cracks appeared in his bones. With the 8 gates fully open, the burden is indeed extremely heavy. Therefore, Might Guy was in pain, and his movements became a little slow. In this regard, Chen Yiban immediately seized the opportunity. You should be able to continue dancing, right? Don't let me down. Zhang. The pupil power and chakra surged wildly, and all the broken parts of Suzanu's complete form were instantly restored. At the same time, clang boom. The complete Susanoo sword was suddenly pulled out. A slash with the sword. It was like a ray of aurora, flickering between the sky and the earth, and among the leaves. 8-Gate Guy. Zixiang. 8-Gate Guy did not hide, but kicked out Yuaga again in order to protect Konoha as much as possible. Suddenly, boom, two extremely powerful forces collided. It was like a nuclear explosion. The mushroom cloud appeared. The powerful shock wave shook the complete form of Susanoo so much that it couldn't help but retreat continuously. Ha ha ha. Happy. You've got me getting the same blood-boiling feeling I had when I fought Hashirama. Come and continue to please me. After stabilizing the complete form of Susanoo, Chen Yiban's face was full of crazy fighting spirit. On the other side, 8-Gate Guy's face was full of pain. He is almost at his limit. Even Xi Xiang can't do it. So. Chapter 17. As expected, it's red steam. Haha, you should be able to continue dancing, right? Come on. Keep pleasuring me. After stabilizing Susanoo's complete form, Chen Yiban's face was filled with crazy fighting spirit. At the same time, the part of Susanoo's complete form that had just been kicked apart by Xi Xiang was quickly restored to its original state as Chen Yiban's mind moved and his chakra and pupil power were released powerfully. Damn it, how can we not kill him even with this? At this moment, Princess Tsunade among the crowd was extremely shocked. Might Guy has already opened up 8-Gate to its full extent. I still can't do anything about that BD Uchiha Madara. The legendary ninja, the former Shura of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara, is so powerful and terrifying. What methods and strength did grandfather use to suppress such a terrifying opponent? Tsunade felt completely powerless. Facing the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, even Princess Tsunade, who was once known as the Sonin of Konoha and has now become the 5th Hokage, felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Uchiha Madara, really, too strong. This kind of fight is simply. On the side, Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto and Haruno Sakura all had expressions of surprise and shock on their faces. It's true that the battle between Chen Yiban and 8-Gate Guy just now was really shocking. Whether it's Chen Yiban's perfect Susanoo or 8-Gate Guy's Xi Xiang. The visual impact is top-notch among the top ones. Until then, Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto and Haruno Sakura, the 3 Konoha genins, couldn't even imagine that there was someone in this world who could be a ninja with such strong power. This is a power that surpasses the Hokage, right? So amazing. Only, this enemy is most likely the legendary Uchiha Madara, who at this moment appears to be completely unharmed and is standing opposite the over 100-meter tall Susanoo in its complete form. Giving everyone present a sense of despair. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. The patriarch of the Hyuga clan Hyuga Hayashi, looked at Chen Yiban who had instantly recovered his Susanoo form, his eyes full of amazement. It is said that if one opens all the 8 gates, one can instantly possess power that surpasses that of the Hokage. However, the opponent was still safe and sound when facing Might Guy with 8-Gate fully activated. Strong. Too strong. They can't contend with such an enemy at all. Even the Hyuga clan, who have the Byakugan, seem too insignificant at this moment. Hey 8, I'm sorry. I can't even avenge you. At this time, Mao Yuxian couldn't help but kneel down and cry. Chen Yiban is so powerful. Mao Yuxian knew that even if she tried her best until her death, she would never have the strength to fight him. Look at Susanoo's complete form. It is simply, God. That is simply not a power that a mortal can possess. Mao Yuxian knew that she could not avenge Moonlight Gale. Having the same feeling were Yui Kurane, Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino and Akim Ichichi, who were looking at Asuma's body not far away. Chen Yiban first killed Yuanfei Asuma, then killed Akamichi Dingzhou. Completely became the mortal enemy of the entire Konoha. If Xi Xiang is useless, then we can only use the last trick. The Might Guy, with 8 gates fully opened, rested for more than 10 seconds, then stood in front of Chen Yiban with his fists clenched again. Ha ha ha. Chen Yiban laughed crazily as Susanoo completed her form. Good. Very good. At this moment, Chen Yiban seemed to have met an opponent for the first time in his life. What is displayed is a crazy fighting spirit. Guy. Far behind, Kakashi looked worriedly at the back of his best friend Might Guy, whose body was covered with blood-red steam. Kakashi knew that his best friend, Might Guy, was ready to fight to the death. And the 8th gate was fully open. Guy's death was already doomed. Product. The next second, Might Guy was seen bending slightly. Zhang. A large amount of blood red immediately emerged behind 8th gate Guy. It quickly condensed into a huge blood-red dragon head. Teacher Guy. Xiao Li looked at his mentor in shock. 8 inner gates formation, Night Guy. 8 gate Guy's last roar in his life. Roar. Behind him, the blood-red dragon of Night Guy immediately opened its bloody mouth and let out a long roar towards the sky. Boom! An extremely strong aura spread out in all directions around. Is there a move more powerful than Yu Xiang? Princess Tsunade couldn't believe it. This power, Guy, this time, I lose. Kakashi couldn't help but sigh sadly. I know in my heart that after this time, my best friend will definitely fall. But seeing such terrifying power, Guy fell down, then the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, there is no way he is still alive. Because this Night Guy feels 100 times stronger than the evening image just now. And just now, Xi Xiang almost completely broke the opponent's Susanoo complete form. This time, we can definitely defeat the enemy. That Guy, actually possesses such terrifying strength. Mitarashi Anko's face was full of amazement and admiration. Guy, please, kill that devil. Uzuki Yujao shouted loudly. Guy, today everyone in Konoha has witnessed your strongest power. The enemy in front of us. I'm counting on you. Princess Tsunade also stepped forward and shouted loudly. Hearing this, drink. 8 gate Guy gathered all his blood and energy. Boom! The blood-red dragon head, which was already extremely huge, actually grew to another level larger. Roar! The blood dragon roared even more powerfully. At this time, this force. Ha ha ha, I fully recognize your strength. Among all the opponents I've fought in my memory, I would like to call you the best in physical skills. In the complete form of Susanoo, Chen Yiban at this moment felt a hint of death. But Chen Yiban was not afraid, instead he was crazy excited. Because he knew, he couldn't die. Night Guy. The next second, 8 gate Guy and the bloody dragon head merged into one. Then, carrying the huge blood-red dragon head, it rushed towards Chen Yiban who was in the complete form of Susanoo in front of him with surging and murderous aura. Chen Yiban will not sit idly by. Just when he wanted to swing the huge Susanoo, he found that the entire Susanoo was stuck and difficult to drive. The space is the same as in the original drama, distorted. Chen Yiban took a look at the situation around him and saw that the space around Susanoo's complete form was indeed distorted. No wonder Susanoo has a hard time taking any action. Roar! At this moment, Night Guy appeared in front of Susanoo's complete form. Chapter 18. Boom! The next moment, Night Guy kicked Susanoo perfect form, and with a loud noise, Susanoo's complete form shattered directly. At the same time, bang! The moment Susanoo's complete form collapsed, Chen Yiban, who was originally inside the tall Susanoo, was immediately kicked and could no longer avoid it. Wow! Immediately, Chen Yiban vomited a mouthful of blood. During this period, Chen Yiban's entire body seemed to be broken. And this happened almost in a split second. However, the power of Night Guy has not ended yet. He actually kicked Chen Yiban directly and rushed forward. In the end, there was a huge earthquake like a bolt from the blue, and in the end, everyone at the scene was shocked to see, all the rock statues of the original Hokage-sama have disappeared. Chen Yiban had only destroyed Senju Hashirama and slightly damaged some of the rock statues of several other Hokage, but had not completely destroyed them. But at this moment, they disappeared completely. And, at the original location, a super chasm appeared with a width of about 80 meters, a depth of over 100 meters, and a length of over 1000 meters. Indeed, the super groove kicked out by Night Guy. This. At the scene, countless people were dumbfounded. In the entire Konoha, no matter whether they were ninjas or civilians, everyone looked at the huge ravine in amazement and stupefaction. 8 inner gates and 8 gate fully opened, are they so powerful? In the dark, Shimura Dance and a group of root ninjas were all extremely shocked at this time. The back mountain of Konoha. It was literally split in two. Guy. Kakashi was also very shocked. But after reacting, Kakashi immediately jumped up and prepared to save Might Guy. Although I know, Might Guy is beyond saving. Kakashi also wants to find a close friend immediately. Everyone. Princess Tsunade also reacted immediately, and then waved her jade hand and ordered, if Uchiha Madara is not dead yet, kill him. And find and try your best to save our Konoha's hero, Might Guy. Yes. Lord Hokage. A Konoha shinobi immediately responded excitedly. The next moment, countless ninjas were seen rushing towards the back mountain of Konoha. This includes, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, Ino Yamanaka, Kakuma Nara, Shikamaru Nara and countless other Konoha shinobi. Even some brave civilians couldn't help but go over to see the final battlefield situation for the first time. At this moment, countless people admired and even worshipped Might Guy, who had just fully opened 8 gate and looked invincible. Everyone wants to welcome back their hero of Konoha at this moment. Only, soon after a group of ninjas quickly jumped, arrived at, and even entered the huge ravine that split the back mountain in two. Everyone saw from a distance an unbelievable scene at the end of the huge ravine. I almost got killed by you just now. Haha. Chen Yiban, wearing a red armor and with waist-length hair fluttering in the wind, was holding a sickle weapon and laughing evilly. And everyone saw that the sickle blade in his hand completely pierced through Might Guy's heart. During this time, Might Guy's entire body was charred like charcoal. It was indeed that after the 8 gates of the 8 inner gates were fully opened, almost all of the vitality in my body was drained away. Then, after being pierced through the heart by Chen Yiban, Might Guy completely lost his last breath of life. Guy. Kakashi, who arrived here first, looked unwilling to believe what was happening before his eyes. How could this be? Princess Tsunade couldn't help but take a step back in surprise and disbelief. The figure is a little staggering. I couldn't help but feel a sense of despair in my heart. Why? Why couldn't Might Guy's terrifying moves kill Uchiha Madara in front? How strong is this man? Might Guy just opened 8 inner gates and 8 gate. That is a power that surpasses the Hokage dozens of times in an instant. Even this is not enough to kill the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Even, look at the other party at this moment, still wearing red armor and long flowing hair. He is still completely unharmed. How is this possible? He is not a human, he is, a demon. Uzuki Yujao, the sword in her hand seemed to have no strength to hold it, and finally fell to the ground at her feet. It is just like the mood of countless people at this moment, falling into despair after their hopes were just shattered. How could the thick-browed teacher who was so powerful just now? Uzumaki Naruto was a little self-doubting at this moment. Is this my Uchiha's true power? Uchiha Sasuke looked at Chen Yiban, whose sickle was still piercing Might Guy's heart, with a look of longing. Urshuse is now in the period when he is most eager to gain power. Looking at Chen Yiban like this, Urshuse longed to become as strong as him. Such power can definitely kill that man. At this time, looking at the Might Guy who had already died in front of him, Chen Yiban slowly pulled the sickle out of the opponent's heart at the right time. Laugh. His heart was broken, but Might Guy only had a few thin streams of blood flowing out of his body. It was indeed the Night Guy just now that drained too much of Might Guy's vitality and blood. Congratulations, you killed 8 Gate Guy and achieved a super achievement. Congratulations on getting Super Achievement Lottery. One time. Temporary division of achievement and lottery levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and super. In this regard, Chen Yiban glanced at the system prompt in the void that only he could see. A super lucky draw? It's really a big surprise. Just smile and pass it by. Then, you are a worthy opponent. I have to admit, your strength just now was enough to kill me. But... Chen Yiban murmured softly as he looked at the fallen Might Guy with one eternal Mangekyō Sharingan and one 3-tomo Sharingan open. It was at this time, whoosh. The originally scarlet pupil of Chen Yiban's right eye 3-tomo Sharingan suddenly turned grey. Lost the light. Do you think I would just come to Konoha without any plans? After Chen Yiban said these words to himself at last. Puff. He dug out the 3-tomo Sharingan that had lost its sight from his right eye and threw it away. Teacher Guy. At this moment, Xiao Li also impulsively opened the 8 inner gates. Then, he rushed straight towards Chen Yiban, who was wearing red armor. Oh! Chen Yiban, who had just taken out the original right eye eternal Mangekyō from the system's internal space, had not yet installed it on himself when he saw Xiao Li rushing towards him aggressively. Ha! Chen Yiban sneered. Chapter 19. Bang! A powerful blue Susanoo emerged and swung its giant arms violently. Just knock Xiao Li back. Xiao Li. Uzumaki Naruto, Tenten, and Niji stepped forward to support Xiao Li, who was knocked back. On the other side, protected by the Susanoo second stage that appeared in the skeleton, Chen Yiban took out the right eye eternal Mangekyō that he had just taken out from the system space without any hurry. Using relatively rough medical techniques, it was replaced in the original right eye socket. Zhang! Instantly, both eternal Mangekyō Sharingan were gathered. The extremely powerful pupil power and chakra suddenly surged and burst out around Chen Yiban. Nine Tails, it's time to put your collar on. With a pair of extremely evil scarlet eyes of eternal Mangekyō, Chen Yiban seemed to see the karama sealed in the little ghost's body through Uzumaki Naruto. This eye power! Damn motor, he has regained the power from that time. Nine Tails was furious. Afterwards, Nine Tails talked to Uzumaki Naruto, get out of here, little brat. Do you hear me? No, there's no way I can leave Konoha at this moment. I want to become the Hokage, I won't run away. Uzumaki Naruto was determined. You stupid, self-righteous brat. Kurama was so angry that he wanted to cry. It is obvious that these Konoha ninjas have no ability to compete with Madara. If he doesn't leave now, Kurama will definitely be taken as a pet by Madara again like he did in the past. My medical ninjutsu is indeed not enough. Chen Yiban felt that he could no longer close the eternal Mangekyō in his right eye. Obviously, the meridian connection of the right eye is not perfect, which means that Chen Yiban's right eye eternal Mangekyō has to remain open all the time. In this regard, a medical genius, Tsunade? Perhaps you could be of some use to me. Chen Yiban suddenly glanced in the direction of Tsunade-ji, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Remember, there seems to be Ashura's flesh and blood in the system's internal space, right? There is no doubt that it contains the Ashura chakra. If you want to get it, the woman named Tsunade might come in handy. Only, it was obvious that this woman would not obey. No. That's not right. She will be obedient. If I use that ability, it should be possible. It just requires a little planning. But it should be soon, and it's all under control. We can capture him first. The next second, Chen Yiban removed Susanoo's second level and began to slowly step forward holding a sickle weapon. Tadada Princess Tsunade and the other Konoha shinobi walked towards the exit of the huge ravine. At this moment, Chen Yiban's first goal, to control Tsunade-ji. Everyone be careful. In response to this, as the fifth Hokage, Princess Tsunade stood in front of everyone at this time. Hokage-sama. Narashikaku, Hyuga Hayashi, Mitarashi Anko, Ui Kurane, Uzuki Ujeo and many other Konoha shinobi looked at Princess Tsunade in front of them. Then, at worst, you'll just die, BD. Mitarashi Anko took a step forward and came to Tsunade Heim. Even though I am not strong enough, I will try my best to take revenge on you, ABD, for Ji Feng. Next, it was Mao Uxi Yan. For our village, Konoha. Finally, Narashikaku, Yamanaka Hai, Hyaganiji, Hyuga Hinata, Ui Kurane, Akim Ichichi, Narashikamaru and other Konoha shinobi all stepped forward and stood beside Princess Tsunade. Chen Yiban paused. It seemed a little surprising that the Konoha ninjas had not yet despaired and still had the courage to resist him at this moment. Did you see that? This is the strongest power we inherited from our great-grandfather, the will of fire. Damn it, motor! At this moment, Princess Tsunade clenched her fists proudly. Is that so? Chen Yiban regained his indifferent look, but, it seems, the first person to be dealt with should indeed be you, the so-called fifth Hokage. Shua. After saying that, Chen Yiban dodged and rushed to the opposite side the next second. As fast as lightning. During this period, some Anbu ninjas actually came forward to obstruct Chen Yiban's steps. Bang bang bang. Puff Chen Yiban was like a red rose on the battlefield, constantly flying among the many Konoha Anbu ninjas, and the sickle weapon in his hand kept taking away lives. Even a random punch or kick can kill many Konoha Anbu ninjas. Rakery. Kakashi also attacked Chen Yiban from the side with thunder in his hand. In response, Chen Yiban easily dodged Kakashi's rakery by turning sideways. Suddenly, bang bang bang. Several ninja dogs came out from the ground. They were Kakashi's summoning beast, Parker, and other ninja dogs. They pounced on Chen Yiban at this time. What a trick! Chen Yiban kicked Kakashi away. Then he slashed with the sickle in his hand, puff puff puff. All the ninja dogs turned into white mist and disappeared. Dog blood is dripping on the ground. Parker. Kakashi, who was kicked away, got up with difficulty. A hole. Tsunade kicked Chen Yiban from above. Bang! Chen Yiban blocked it with the handle of the sickle in his hand, and the ground beneath his feet suddenly collapsed. But when Tsunade landed, bang! Chen Yiban's chakra gathered in his legs wearing ninja boots, and he kicked back at Princess Tsunade. Although Tsunade blocked with both hands in time, she was still blown away by Chen Yiban's extraordinary strength, which was no weaker than hers. Base at this moment, a cold light came from behind Chen Yiban, who had just defeated Princess Tsunade. Go straight to the fatal point on the back of his head. In response, Chen Yiban tilted his head slightly and dodged. Then, he turned around as fast as lightning, despair. The big hand wearing a brown glove easily grabbed the other person's throat. Chen Yiban saw that the other person was actually a woman. Purple hair. That's Uzuki's evening face. Do you want to dance too? Chen Yiban said lightly. Devil. Mao Uxi Yan, like the moonlight gale just now, swung the sword in her hand towards Chen Yiban, who was right in front of her in a dying struggle. But it was as if history was replaying itself as Chen Yiban caught the flying sword. Immediately, puff! He directly penetrated into Uzuki Ujo's abdomen with his backhand. Immediately, blood began to flow. Swift wind. There was a lot of pain between Mao Uxi Yan's eyebrows. In response, Chen Yiban threw the beautiful woman in his hand away. On the side, Kakashi and many other ninjas could only stare and watch. It was too late to save them. You guys, the way you struggle to death, is so ugly. Chapter 20. Fire Style. Dragon Fire Technique. Times N. At this time, a dozen Konoha shinobi on the side simultaneously released fire style ninjutsu towards Chen Yiban in front. In response to this, Chen Yiban, who had just ruthlessly destroyed the beautiful Uzuki Ujo, glanced coldly with his scarlet eyes of eternal Mangekyō. Another trick of showing off one's proficiency before an expert. He didn't even bother to activate Susanoo to defend himself. Shua. The next second, another weapon besides the sickle was taken out from the system's internal space. Exactly, Uchiha fan. And, whoosh. More than a dozen dragon fire techniques, all absorbed. Next, flip the Uchiha fan, Uchiha, milkshake, boom. Bounce back with even more violent fire style power. Ah! In an instant, dozens of Konoha shinobi were killed. At this moment, Chen Yiban holds a sickle in one hand and an Uchiha fan in the other. Two classic weapons in hand. Invincible momentum. Bang 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 bang. What followed was another one-sided massacre. Kill 10 Konoha shinobi and achieve a primary achievement once. Congratulations! Get primary achievement lottery. One time. Killed 20 Konoha shinobi and achieved the primary achievement twice. Congratulations on getting primary achievement lottery twice. Kill. Chen Yiban has transformed into a demon and Shura on the battlefield. Crazy slaughter of living beings. It was as if all life in front of him had turned into some data and a tool for winning the achievement lottery. Just like the real ninja Shura Uchiha Madara from the Sengoku era. Even worse than Uchiha Madara in the original drama. Modala. UBD. Watching Chen Yiban continuously slaughtering the Konoha shinobi, at this moment, Princess Tsunade once again used all her strength to launch a pain tenkyo kick with a look of anger on her face. In this regard, Chen Yiban just beheaded another Enbu ninja, then turned around and punched with extremely smooth movements, boom. Fists and kicks. Chen Yiban's punch was not at all inferior. How can I repair it? Seeing that the opponent actually took her painful kick with one punch, Tsunade was shocked, angry, and full of resentment. But before Tsunade can continue with other actions, boom. Chen Yiban directly grabbed her white ankle, and then slammed her to the ground without any mercy. In an instant, the entire ground sank into an extremely huge pit. The shock wave blew away many surrounding ninjas. At this moment, even in the state of ninja art, mitotic regeneration of the 100 skills technique, Tsunade couldn't help but groan slightly in pain from being hit in the mouth. Expansion Jutsu. There is a ninja from the Akatsuki clan, who has grown to a gigantic size and is about to come forward to rescue Princess Tsunade. Chen Yiban didn't even look at it and just calmly sealed his mouth. The next second, more than a dozen shadow clone Chen Yiban appeared one by one from the side. And, whoosh whoosh. Each shadow clone released powerful blue chakra, condensing into Susanoo's second stage. In this way, all Konoha shinobi, including the Akatsuki clan, are blocked from approaching. Just then, bang! Princess Tsunade suddenly attacked Chen Yiban with a heavy punch, but Chen Yiban leaned sideways and blocked it with one hand. He grabbed Tsunade's fair wrist, preventing her from retreating. Princess Tsunade activated her chakra and used her extraordinary strength to try to break free. But she found that Chen Yiban's strength was greater than hers, and she couldn't pull back her fist at all. I told you, the only one who can slightly suppress me is Hashirama. And you, are just a woman. At this moment, Chen Yiban was staring at Princess Tsunade with contempt. In addition, when fighting with her, Chen Yiban temporarily put the weapon back into the system's internal space. During this time, Tsunade saw it and was also surprised. But now is not the time to care about it. Shut up! Tsunade was angry because of Chen Yiban's words. He immediately raised his other fist and wanted to continue attacking Chen Yiban, who was right in front of him. But, boom, she had just raised her fist, but before it fell, Chen Yiban's iron fist wearing a brown glove had already hit her stomach heavily. Puff! Princess Tsunade instantly bent over and vomited blood. Although Bihao technique heals injuries quickly, it is not as fast as the ferocity of Chen Yiban's punch. Hokage-sama. Many Konoha shinobi around, including Kakashi, Hyuga Hayashi, Narashikaku, etc., spoke out in worry. However, all of Chen Yi's dozen shadow clones released Susanoo. Level 2 and defended tightly. For a moment, no one could break in and rescue Princess Tsunade. Too weak. Is this the so-called fifth Hokage? I saw that Chen Yiban had grabbed Tsunade's throat, lifted her up with a painful look on her face, and then looked at her with a mocking look. You. The severe pain in his stomach made Tsunade speechless. Looking at the pair of scarlet eternal Mangekyō Sharingan in Chen Yiban's eyes right in front of him, Tsunade couldn't help but feel a chill. To this, next, I might need you. So, do as Nine Tails does. Surrender. Chen Yiban slowly raised two fingers and opened a pair of eternal Mangekyō Sharingan. He is indeed preparing to use the illusion of eternal Mangekyō on Princess Tsunade in order to control her. You. At this moment, even Tsunade couldn't help but feel an inexplicable fear in her heart. Big ball, raise Nan. Suddenly, with a shout, a swift figure came with a powerful attack and hit Chen Yiban. In response, Chen Yiban was just about to use eternal Mangekyō Sharingan to control Tsunade, although he didn't expect that someone could bypass the obstruction of his shadow clone. But when the opponent's attack finally fell on himself, Chen Yiban still released the blue Susanoo skeleton in an instant. Defended. Of course, Chen Yiban was still pushed a long distance away by the sudden attack inside Susanoo. Chapter 21. Is it him? In the Susanoo skeleton, Chen Yiban opened his scarlet eternal Mangekyō and looked at the figure opposite who had just blasted him away. Seeing that familiar yet strange figure, Chen Yiban was slightly surprised, but soon regained his cold expression. Jiraiya. At this moment, Princess Tsunade was looking at the figure blocking her way with a look of surprise. Toad Sage. Here we go. The man struck a classic pose. Appear in front of everyone at this moment. She is indeed one of the Sunin like Tsunade Heim. Toad Sage. Jiraiya. Unexpectedly, after this guy retrieved Princess Tsunade and returned to Konoha to become the fifth Hokage, he also stayed in the village. Or did Jiraiya come back after hearing some noise? Chen Yiban, forget it, it doesn't matter. A mere Jiraiya can't change anything. Eternal Mangekyō Sharingan, staring coldly at Jiraiya who had just blasted away his white hair with a big ball raise Nan. Chen Yiban's bloodshot eyes were filled with murderous intent. Jiraiya is an adult. At this time, Kakashi also saw Jiraiya who had just appeared here, and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. After all, Jiraiya has the title of sage and his strength is unquestionable. His arrival should reduce a lot of pressure on Kakashi and the others. It's really Jiraiya-sama. Then, when the many Konoha shinobi around saw Jiraiya, they all showed joy on their faces. Even Hyuga Hayashi, Narashikaku, Yui Kurane, Mitarashi Anko, and other Konoha Jonin couldn't help but seem to breathe a sigh of relief. Tsunade, Cheer up! At this moment, Jiraiya looked back at Princess Tsunade behind him. Oh, you don't have to tell me. Princess Tsunade smiled proudly. Then, he slowly stood up and walked to Jiraiya. The injuries that Chen Yiban had just caused to Tsunade had now been completely healed by the 100 healing technique. Be careful, Jiraiya. Because the enemy in front of you may very well be the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Princess Tsunade looked at Jiraiya beside her and reminded him. This is really unbelievable. But, the opponent's chakra that shocked me makes me have to believe it. Jiraiya smiled bitterly. At the same time, that is. Guy. Jiraiya saw the body of Might Guy behind Chen Yiban, under the cliff at the end of the huge ravine. Suddenly I couldn't help but be a little surprised. Guy opened all the gates of the 8 inner gates, but still couldn't kill the damn motor in front of him. Princess Tsunade clenched her fists and shouted in anger. What? Guy opened the death door of 8 inner gates. Jiraiya was more and more shocked. And then, you still can't kill the enemy in front of you. As he said that, even Jiraiya couldn't help but look at Chen Yiban in front of him with a little disbelief. How is it possible that someone can survive the death gate? Who is the legendary Uchiha Madara? Jiraiya was no longer calm at this moment. Pervy Sage. Not far away, Uzumaki Naruto, who was blocked by a dozen shadow clone Chen Yiban's Susanoo, also saw Jiraiya and shouted loudly. Pervy Sage, quickly defeat that BD and avenge Mr. Thick Eyebrows and Uncle Asuma. Uzumaki Naruto continued to shout to Jiraiya from a distance. Naruto. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Princess Tsunade beside him, Asuma also. Yet. Tsunade nodded. 3rd generation old man. Jiraiya suddenly couldn't help but summarize. Not long ago, the old man from the 3rd generation was just killed by that guy Orochimaru. Now, the old man's descendants also. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara? I'm really curious about what kind of strength he has. Finally, Jiraiya's face showed anger and he stared at Chen Yiban who was in the blue Susanoo in front of him. Also at this time, swish, 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 swish. On the periphery, many ninjas from the Konoha route appeared. And, swish. An old figure, with strength stronger than other Konoha shinobi, secretly bypassed the blockade of Susanoo, the dozen shadow clones of Chen Yiban, and finally landed on the ground next to Tsunade and Jiraiya at this moment. This is Shimura Dan's. This old BD actually showed up on his own initiative? Did you see that Princess Tsunade was not performing well, so you wanted to come to the battlefield as Konoha's last helper? How ridiculous! This old man, at this time, is he still thinking about the position of his beloved 5.5th generation Hokage? Danzo. Tsunadeheim and Jiraiya were also surprised when they saw Shimura Dan's appear. How can I ignore an enemy invading Konoha? In front of all the Konoha shinobi, Shimura Dan's behaved righteously. Tisk. Both Tsunadeji and Jiraiya rolled their eyes at Chunin. However, at this time, the more help the better. After all, the enemy in front of us is no ordinary being. Is that the little brat from the Shimura clan? At this time, looking at Shimura Dan's, Chen Yiban, with his arms around Susanoo, suddenly spoke. Remember the time when Hashirama and I were together? You were still breastfeeding then, right? You dare to speak so arrogantly in front of me now. Chen Yiban opened his blood-red eternal Mangekyō Sharingan and stared at Shimura Dan's not far away. Humph, I don't know how you can still survive and look so young. But your time has passed. I, Shimura Dan's, am no longer just a little kid. In response to Chen Yiban's disdain, Shimura Dan's responded like this. Is that so? Chen Yiban suddenly revealed a dark and evil smile. The next second, Chen Yiban looked at the dozen or so shadow clones of himself from a distance. Suddenly, the dozen or so shadow clone Chen Yiban who were blocking the approach of many Konoha shinobi immediately withdrew Susanoo level 2. Then, swish, 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 swish. They all jumped up and stood beside Chen Yiban. Leave Konoha, or, die. Chen Yiban's true form, with a pair of scarlet eternal Mangekyō open, spoke so coldly at this moment. This was his last bit of mercy. This is impossible. Tsunade remained unchanged. In response, Jiraiya glanced at Tsunade beside him, then smiled and said, I am a member of Konoha no matter what. At this moment, I, Toad Sage, am willing to follow the instructions of the 5th Hokage. Jiraiya of course chooses to support Tsunade. Root Ninja! Shimura Dance just shouted softly, and immediately all the root ninjas who were outside came behind him. So, it goes without saying. Without Chen Yiban's shadow clones blocking them, countless Konoha Jonin and Anbu ninjas such as Kakashi, Mitarashi Anko, Yui Kurane, Hyuga Hayashi, etc., also came behind Tsunade and Jiraiya in time. In this way, everyone, including Shimura Dance, seemed to have united against the same enemy. To this, do you know? When people focus too much on one person, your other blind spots will appear. Chen Yiban had a smile on his face at this moment, revealing a hint of conspiracy. Chapter 22. Blind Spot. What's the meaning? Tsunade, Jiraiya, Shimura Dance and others all looked puzzled when they heard Chen Yiban's words. In response to this, Chen Yiban just had a wicked smile on his face and did not answer or explain. Humph, stop bluffing. Facing the ninjas of our entire Konoha, you won't be able to get away with it even if you are the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Shimura Dance seemed a little complacent. Uchiha Madara, the power that he just displayed was indeed extremely powerful. Even the 8-gate guy with 8 inner gates fully opened couldn't kill Uchiha Madara and was easily killed. But, Shimura Dance then slowly stroked his bandaged right hand with his left hand, and his right eye which was also bandaged. A sense of confidence suddenly began to surge in my heart. Even, the eyes of this man in front of me are the best Uchiha's pupil power. If I can get it. Shimura Dance could actually think like this. In this regard, is that so? Chen Yiban still had a cold smile on his face. Seeing this, Jiraiya felt inexplicably uneasy. The enemy in front of us is the legendary ninja, the former Shura of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara. Jiraiya felt that it was time for him to summon those two beings. Everyone, don't let your guard down. The other party may. At this time, Princess Tsunade wanted to remind the many Konoha shinobi around her. But, as Chen Yiban said, everyone was focusing too much attention and being too cautious about Chen Yiban alone. But no one thought of this for a moment. Puff. Puff. 2 root ninjas, holding butcher knives, stood behind Shimura Dance. One of them cut off Shimura Dance's right arm in an instant, and the other one also beheaded Shimura Dance at the same time. What? Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Kurane Yui and all the other Konoha shinobi were shocked. Until the headless body of Shimura Dance, who was so proud just now, fell down. What are you doing? Tsunade just yelled in anger, glaring at the 2 root ninjas who were holding Shimura Dance's right arm and head. Lord Danzo. A group of root ninjas on the side also looked incredulous. To this, one of the 2 root ninjas holding Shimura Dance's right arm and head suddenly burst out with powerful blue chakra. Then, a blue, several dozen meters tall Susanoo level 3 took shape instantly, protecting the 2 of them inside its huge blue body. This is Susanoo. Among the people who were shocked by the sudden outburst of Susanoo, Princess Tsunade was shocked and suddenly realized. It was actually an enemy pretending to be him. Really, whoosh. Whoosh. The 2 root ninjas transformed into Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and with long flowing hair. It really is, 2 shadow clone of Chen Yiban. Damn, when? Jiraiya couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Elder Danzo, actually. Yui Kurane couldn't believe that Shimura Dance, the elder of Konoha, was killed in an instant. Now, again, did you really think I would just come to Konoha without any plans or preparations? When Chen Yiban saw that Shadow Clone succeeded, he sneered with his hands still folded in front of him. As a time traveler, how could Chen Yiban not understand Konoha? How could you not know the secret of Shimura Dance? How could one not know that he possessed Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō Sharingan? How could he not know that this old BD had his entire right arm transplanted with 10-3 Tomo Sharingan to activate Uchiha's secretary Izanagi? No. Chen Yiban knows it all. Therefore, before entering Konoha, that is, before coming here, Chen Yiban already had a preliminary plan in his mind. Shimura Dance, 8-gate guy, these 2 people, Chen Yiban has considered them all. Chen Yiban had actually released these 2 shadow clones and hid them in the crowd long before the battle took place. Just now, they used the transformation technique to transform into root ninjas and blended directly into the group of root ninjas behind Shimura Dance. Until, the plan was successful. Shimura Dance. Behead. I have to say. Chen Yiban is also an old pervert. The main reason is indeed as Chen Yiban said, Tsunade-ji, Jiraiya, Kakashi, and others are too concerned about the situation on Chen Yiban's side. They didn't even think about the fact that their companions might be their enemies. Even Danzo, whose head had been separated from his body, realized this at the moment of his death. It's a pity that it's too late. How could the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara do such a shameless thing? At this time, Mitarashi Anko stared at Chen Yiban's real body and the two shadow clones of Chen Yiban opposite him with a pair of eyes wide open with an extremely indignant look on his face. However, as a ninja, Mitarashi Anko's words at this moment are a bit hypocritical. That's how you act like a villain. Isn't it? Chen Yiban said with a slight smile. Period, you are such a coward, do you really think you can dance in front of me? The shadow clone of Chen Yiban who was holding the head of Shimura Dan's was looking at Danzo's head in his hand with contempt. Above, Shimura Dan's died with his eyes open. Izanagi he didn't have time to activate it. The same is true for distinguished heavenly gods. Maybe, Danzo didn't expect that. Chen Yiban is the same as him, he has the attributes of an old pervert. Even Chen Yiban is more sinister than Shimura Dan's. Give me back Danzo's body. At this moment, Jiraiya suddenly took action. Instead, he used a Raise Nan to attack Chen Yiban's shadow clone Susanoo Stage 3. Bang! It's a pity that even the first stage of Susanoo can't be broken by ordinary Raise Nan. Not to mention the third stage of Susanoo. Apart from making a noise, it does nothing. Instead, Susanoo level 3 knocked Jiraiya back with one punch, and then the other blue giant hand instantly condensed a Yaban no Megatama that had been used not long ago, and threw it at Jiraiya in front of him. The 8-plate Megatama has extremely strong speed and power. Faced with this attack, even Jiraiya was shocked. Boom! Fortunately, I managed to escape in the end. However, the distance was too close and the attack was a bit sudden, so Jiraiya's arm was cut by the Yashida no Megatama at the last moment when he dodged sideways. Blood immediately flowed. Jiraiya, are you okay? Seeing Jiraiya stepping back, Princess Tsunade couldn't help but step forward and ask with concern. During this time, he did not slack off in his movements, and used the healing jutsu quickly to heal Jiraiya's arm injury. I have to say here, fortunately, Princess Tsunade had just recovered from her blood phobia not long ago, otherwise, let alone treating Jiraiya, she would probably tremble all over at the sight of blood. It's just a minor injury. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade in front of him and tried his best to force a smile. The other side, Earth style, Fire style, Lightning style, Expansion jutsu, 8 trigrams palms. Kakashi, Mitarashi Anko, Ui Kurane and other Konoha Jainin as well as many Anbu ninjas were now bombarding the nearest Susanoo third with all kinds of ninjutsu. Ha! Chen Yiban, the 2 shadow clone among the 3rd level Susanoo, simply disdained them. Dong dong! 2 shadow clones controlled the several dozen meters tall Susanoo 3rd stage and walked towards Chen Yiban's real body not far away on the opposite side. During this time, various ninjutsu were bombarded on Susanoo 3rd stage, but they were completely useless. Until he got annoyed, Shadow Clone thought, and the 3rd level Susanoo directly threw out the 8-plate Megatama, and the power of chakra slashed it. Ah! Konoha Shinobi suffered heavy casualties again. Chapter 23. Seeing that Chen Yiban's shadow clone was so powerful and killed countless Konoha Shinobi, ninjutsu, Yominuma, Jiraiya immediately performed one of his special ninjutsu. Suddenly, hiss! The Susanoo stage 3 that wrapped the 2 shadow clone of Chen Yiban, which was originally heading towards the original body, suddenly sank its feet. The 2 shadow clones looked down. The ground became like a swamp and a quagmire, and began to slowly sink Susanoo into the ground. It even seemed to swallow Susanoo whole. This move, Jiraiya was used in the original drama to fight against Orochimaru's summoning beast Many Snakes. Unexpectedly, it also had a miraculous effect when used on Susanoo. Everyone, hurry now! Seeing that Susanoo stage 3 was blocked, Princess Tsunade immediately waved her hand and shouted to the countless Konoha shinobi around her. Suddenly, countless Konoha shinobi released a series of ninjutsu and attacked the Susanoo 3rd stage trapped in the Yellow Spring Swamp. There are wind style, fire style, water style, and so on. Bang bang bang! In the end, although the 3rd stage of Susanoo was not broken, he was actually beaten to the point of losing his balance and falling down. In this way, the Yellow Spring Swamp is quickly swallowing up the entire 3rd level Susanoo. This thing is really big. Jiraiya continued to release chakra, increasing the power of Yellow Spring Swamp. It was as if he was determined to swallow the entire Susanoo third stage. Go to hell! Finally, it was Tsunade who made the final move. She jumped high into the air and then dropped from the sky, punching Susanoo 3 hard. In this way, Susanoo 3 was completely driven into the Yellow Spring Swamp. Princess Tsunade jumped up again at the last second and returned to everyone. Grandma Tsunade, gee! On the side, Uzumaki Naruto couldn't help but clench his fist and said happily. Tsunade also responded with a charming smile. At this time, many Konoha shinobi smiled. Really, it's not easy. They finally won. Tsunade, the battle is not over yet. Just then, Jiraiya suddenly spoke. Hearing. All the people who were just delighted were suddenly awakened. Then, look across the huge ravine, really. Chen Yiban's real body was still standing there alive. Just now, they mobilized so many troops to defeat, just a mere shadow clone of the opponent. Moreover, at this moment, there are more than 10 shadow clone around Chen Yiban's real body. Haha, how can I repair it? Some ninjas couldn't help but smile bitterly in despair. Can't beat. There is no way to win. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara is too strong. It was as if they were not from the same dimension at all, and the Konoha shinobi were simply unable to compete with them. I feel powerless. I really feel powerless. To this, did you find it? Just now, I was embarrassed to say anything to disturb your ecstasy. Chen Yiban, with his arms folded in front of him in his own Susanoo Stage 2, looked at the hundreds of Konoha shinobi opposite him with a mocking expression. Seeing them defeat one of my shadow clone, they were so happy as if they had really won. Chen Yiban really feels interesting and funny. A whole. Stop being so proud. Uzumaki Naruto's path of destruction. Ha! Chen Yiban's real body sneered coldly and passed by. Then, how long are you two going to keep pretending? Chen Yiban suddenly said this inexplicably. Hey! The Konoha shinobi who heard this were a little confused. Could it be? Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, and Narashikaku suddenly thought of something. But there's nothing they can do yet, boom. On the side, the Yomiuri swamp, which had just swallowed a whole Susanoo 3 and was reinforced and sealed by Jiraiya, exploded. Yellow smoke rises. Zhengdong zhengdong. Until 2 huge blue bodies several dozen meters long crawled out from the Yellow Springs swamp together. Everyone at the scene was filled with shock and confusion. Just sealed one. At this moment, 2 of them actually ran out. Oh yes, there were indeed 2 shadow clones of Chen Yiban among the Susanoo just now. But you. Do you want to play like this? Swish, 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 swish. At this moment, the huge Susanoo level 3 controlled by 2 shadow clone just jumped out from the Yellow Spring swamp as if in revenge. He continued to slaughter the Konoha shinobi from all directions. The 8 slab Megatama, the chakra giant's sword, are constantly blasting out. Suddenly, well. Many Konoha shinobi were killed or injured. Stop! Jiraiya angrily made a seal and shouted, Fire style, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. Oink oink! 3 huge fire dragons attacked from the front, left and right, and attacked the 2 Susanoo level 3s. Fire style, Great Fire Extinguishment. ×2 The 2 Chen Yiban shadow clones among the 2 Susanoo 3rd level 1 slowly formed seals, and then madly spit out huge flaming arrows from their mouths. Like gunpowder being fired from a bore, it instantly broke through Jiraiya's fire dragon bomb. Then, burn countless Konoha shinobi. Even Jiraiya's original fire dragon power was borrowed to burn his own people in Konoha. Damn it! Water style. Jiraiya's face showed surprise and anger, and he hurriedly performed a large-scale water-style ninjutsu. To resist the terrifying fire arrows of Great Fire Extinguishment at this moment. The Konoha shinobi who knew water style also began to use water style. In the end, he just managed to withstand the terrifying high-temperature fire arrows from the 2 shadow clones of Chen Yiban. But a large cloud of steam appeared at the scene, obscuring everyone's view ahead. The huge body of Susanoo Sankai can no longer be seen. Revolving Heaven. Until the people of the Hyuga clan released a secret technique together at this moment. All the steam that was blocking the view was dispelled at once. Revolving Heaven, the powerful secret technique of the Hyuga clan has now fallen to this point. It was true that when facing the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, we could not hold back at all, and we must not lose sight of the situation. Period, bang dong, bang dong. At this moment, the two shadow clones of Chen Yiban had already jumped to the side of Chen Yiban's real body as soon as they thought about it. Main body, I got the stuff. Then, Susanoo was removed, and the two shadow clones each handed the things in their hands to the original body, Chen Yiban. And what they handed over to Chen Yiban at this moment was, Shimura Dan's entire right arm and head. Too slow, said the original body Chen Yiban indifferently. The hands did not slow down and first took Shimura Dan's right arm, which was 10 Sharingan from the Uchiha clan, all 3 Megatama. Call out without saying anything, Chen Yiban directly put it into the internal space grid of the achievement sign-in system. In addition, this is Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō Sharingan. Distinguished heavenly gods. Breaking off the bandage on the right eye of Shimura Dan's head, Chen Yiban opened his eyes with the eternal Mangekyō Sharingan to see the right eye of someone else. It was Shimura Dan from the original drama who captured Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō. Distinguished heavenly gods. The power of the pupils does seem to be a little special. Chapter 24. That's Elder Danzo's head and arm, but why? Why does the Uchiha clan have a Sharingan? That is, Shisui is Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō Sharingan. I saw, at this time, countless Konoha shinobi were shocked. Looking at the head of Shimura Dan's in Chen Yiban's hand and the many scarlet eyes on his arm. Many Konoha shinobi were stunned. Even, the Hyuga clan members with good eyesight used their Byakugan to see that the Mangekyō Sharingan, once known as Shisui, was above Shimura Dan's right eye. How is it possible that an elder of Konoha has the Sharingan of Uchiha? Even Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō. It turns out to be Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō Sharingan. Hyuga Hayashi also rolled his eyes at this moment, and saw the right eye on the head of Shimura Dan's held in Chen Yiban's hand in the distance, which was once the Mangekyō Sharingan of Uchiha Shisui. Danzo, that BD. Tsunade and Jiraiya both thought of something at once. I couldn't help but curse out loud. Aside, how could this happen? How could our Uchiha size? Uchiha Sasuke was looking at the head of Shimura Dan's in Chen Yiban's hand and the arm full of Sharingan on his right arm that had just mysteriously disappeared. Urju's face was filled with shock and disbelief at first. And then, there was complete anger. It's easy to guess where Shimura Dan's got so many Sharingan on his right arm. Uchiha, Knight of Genocide. A hole. Uchiha Sasuke clenched his fists in anger. To this, shocked. At this time, Chen Yiban had already seized Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyō Sharingan. Distinguished heavenly gods, and then threw Shimura Dan's head away, and looked at the shocked Konoha shinobi on the opposite side. Especially, Uchiha Sasuke. Then, no need to be shocked. Don't be surprised. Because, it has been indebted to the Uchiha since Konoha was founded. Now, it's just a direct transition from debt to persecution. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chen Yiban spoke in such a cold voice after he had stored distinguished heavenly gods into the system's internal space. Stop talking nonsense and misleading people. Princess Tsunade retorted with a sharp voice. Chen Yiban's pair of scarlet eternal Mangekyō did not look at her, but unexpectedly looked at Uchiha Sasuke, who was angry and shocked at this moment. You should be one of the few remaining Uchiha. How about it? Junior Uchiha, do you want to come over to my side? Chen Yiban, with a faint smile on his face and a pair of cold eternal Mangekyō Sharingan, looked at Urjuzi at this moment and suddenly said to him. Izuna. Looking at Uchiha Sasuke's face, which was extremely similar to someone in his current memory, Chen Yiban's heart moved slightly. Sasuke will never be with someone like you. Uzumaki Naruto stood up with an indignant look on his face. Is that so? Chen Yiban's gaze on eternal Mangekyō was still only on Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke was obviously hesitant. I was indeed moved by Chen Yiban's words. That's normal. The current Urjuzi is eager for strength. And Chen Yiban has shown invincible strength from beginning to end. Moreover, in the eyes of everyone at this moment, Chen Yiban is Uchiha Madara. The same is true for Urjuzi. So, this is the sense of intimacy that comes from being a fellow tribesman. In contrast, Shimura Dan's, as an elder of Konoha, seized the Sharingan from the exterminated Uchiha clan. Sasuke had originally wanted to leave Konoha and find Orochimaru. Now, after hearing what Chen Yiban said, how could Sasuke not be tempted? Ha! Chen Yiban also noticed Urjuzi's intention and couldn't help but smile. Then, whoosh, 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 whoosh. All the shadow clones around him disappeared in an instant, and all the power was once again concentrated on Chen Yiban himself. "I'll ask you one last time, leave Konoha, or choose to die." Standing in Susanoo's second-level body, Chen Yiban, with his eyes full of eternal Mangekyō, has a very cold expression on his face at this moment. "Madara, what on earth do you want to do?" Jiraiya yelled. "Jiraiya, there's no point in talking to this kind of person. Let's fight together," Princess Tsunade said from the side. At the same time, ninjutsu, summoning technique, puff as Princess Tsunade bit her thumb and slapped the ground, a huge white mist suddenly appeared. Immediately afterwards, everyone at the scene saw. Tsunade folded her arms and stood on top of a super Katsuyu that suddenly appeared on the scene and was nearly 100 meters tall. "That's Tsunade-sama's summoning beast, Katsuyu." Looking at the huge summoning beast Katsuyu, Kakashi on the field couldn't help but speak out. It was at that time Uzumaki Naruto recalled the scene where Princess Tsunade and Jiraiya fought against Orochimaru not long ago. This is the second time Naruto has seen the summoning beast Katsuyu. "Tsunade." Jiraiya couldn't help but smile softly when he saw Tsunade had already used the summoning technique to summon Katsuyu. Then, ninjutsu, summoning technique. Jiraiya bit his thumb and pressed the ground. Puff the giant summoning toad, Gamabunta, appears. Ske. So big. As expected, they are two of the legendary Sunin. So strong. Great. We still have hope. However, the Konoha shinobi around them were like drowning people grabbing a life-saving straw, desperately looking for hope of survival. This scene is really a bit nostalgic. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade on top of the huge Katsuyu next to him and couldn't help but sigh. "Only Sunin, there is still one person missing after all. Jiraiya, why did you call me here again?" At this moment, Gamabunta looked at Jiraiya standing above his head with a little displeasure. "I almost couldn't help but throw him down." "Tsunade-sama, nice to see you again." Katsuyu was much gentler. "Hey? You even called out Katsuyu? And this is Konoha, right? Jiraiya, what kind of enemy are you facing?" Seeing Katsuyu, Gamabunta went from being unhappy to being a little surprised. At the same time, Wen Tai took a look at the current environment. Then, holy shit! When was this brand new gutter made that is over 1,000 meters long and nearly 100 meters wide? Is this really Konoha? Wenta was a little confused. To this, Bunta, Katsuyu, you two look at the person across from you, can you recognize who that is? Jiraiya stood on top of Gamabunta and spoke out with a serious face. Times two. Upon hearing this, the two summoning beasts, Bunta and Katsuyu, were stunned for a moment in surprise. Then, look across. It looks familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere. Wen Tai murmured while smacking his lips. It feels like the opponent's momentum is very strong. Katsuyu also said at the right time. Wait, this is... Suddenly, Gamabunta thought of something. What the hell? Chapter 25. It seemed that Gamabunta finally thought of something. Then, the pipe that looked a bit pretentious in his mouth suddenly fell to the ground. Gamabunta looked shocked and even looked at Chen Yiban opposite him with his eyes full of disbelief. How is it possible, shouldn't he have already? The gigantic toad Bunta let out a sound of doubt and surprise. Hey? Did you recognize who that man opposite you is? Katsuyu hadn't reacted yet. Until, Uchiha Madara. He is the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara. Among the people around, someone could no longer hold back and shouted loudly. Nana, Nani. Upon hearing that, the slug, that is, Katsuyu, suddenly trembled all over. It's really Uchiha. Gamabunta was completely shocked. Jiraiya, what's going on? Could it be that the other party is really the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara? It was seen that at this time, Gamabunta no longer had the arrogance he had when he first appeared in front of Jiraiya. One can even see that Gamabunta seems to be a little frightened at this moment. He should be the one in the legend. As for why he is still alive, I can only say that I don't quite understand it now. Jiraiya shook his head. Then he smiled helplessly, it's really a headache. Damn it, if it really is the legendary Uchiha Madara, then it won't be as simple as a headache, Jiraiya. To be honest, Gamabunta wanted to retreat at this time. Although Mount Maiboku is very close to Jiraiya and Konoha, he, Gamabunta, is Jiraiya's summoning beast. But, damn, let Gamabunta fight the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara? Mad, do you know what the battle between Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara was like? Hit him? No kidding. Lord Tsunade, the man opposite, is really... Katsuyu asked Tsunade-sama above his head in a soft and strange tone at the moment. You slug, Konoha's ninjas, please save him. Tsunade clenched his fists and stared at Chen Yiban opposite him. Gurgle. Katsuyu glanced at Chen Yiban opposite him dimly, then couldn't help but swallowed nervously. Okay, Master Tsunade. Saying, the next moment, it immediately split itself, turning its huge body of 100 meters into small Katsuyu. Then, he began to crawl towards the numerous injured Konoha shinobi in all directions. Just now, when facing Chen Yiban, countless Konoha ninjas were killed or injured. There were deaths, serious injuries, and minor injuries. At this moment, Katsuyu really comes in handy. However, after splitting into many sub-bodies, the size of Katsuyu under Princess Tsunade became less than 30 meters. See this scene, you really can't recognize the reality and are resisting stubbornly. On the opposite side, Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and long flowing hair, folded his arms, and the Scarlet Eternal Mangekyō Sharingan looked indifferently at Jiraiya and Tsunade and their summoning beasts. Those eyes are indeed just like the ones in the legend. Gamabunta saw the pattern of the Eternal Mangekyō Sharingan in the pupils of Chen Yiban opposite him, and the last bit of hope in his heart disappeared immediately. Suddenly, Gamabunta looked up at Jiraiya above his head. Jiraiya, what are you waiting for? Just call old Yamato and the others over and enter Sage mode. The person on the opposite side is very likely the legendary one. In this regard, Gamabunta does not think that the people here can compete with the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. The only way is to summon the two great toad sages of Mount Maiboku, who are also his two superiors of Gamabunta, and then let Jiraiya enter Sage mode. In this way, there might still be a glimmer of hope. Hey! Boss Toad! Suddenly, Uzumaki Naruto, who was standing by and waving to greet Gamabunta, shouted. Shut up, brat! Gamabunta glanced at Uzumaki Naruto unhappily. I'm not in the mood to pay attention to Naruto at this moment. At the same time, Bunta, I know. I summoned you out first so that you can block the guy on the other side first, and then I will summon the two great toad sages. Jiraiya glanced at the huge toad Bunta beneath him and said so. Jiraiya, UBD. Should I thank you for thinking so highly of me? Gamabunta gritted his teeth a little. Ahaha. Jiraiya was indeed a little embarrassed. Idiot, hurry up. If he is really Uchiha Motor, how long do you think I, Gamabunta, can hold him off? Gamabunta shouted angrily. Snail, let's buy some time for Jiraiya. Princess Tsunade glanced at Katsuyu, who was still 30 meters tall, and spoke. Yes, Master Tsunade. Katsuyu nodded. During this period, Katsuyu and Gamabunta, the two summoning beasts, were huge in size and seemed to be fearless of all life forms. But at this moment, Katsuyu and Gamabunta were both staring at Chen Yiban opposite them with guilt. Afraid that the other party will make some moves that I haven't noticed. Afraid? Maybe. Facing this legendary figure, who among the ninjas in the entire ninja world, except for the ninja god Senju Hashirama who also lives in legend, would not be afraid? Let's just forget it. This game should actually end. Just as Jiraiya and Gamabunta were discussing on the opposite side, Chen Yiban suddenly spoke coldly. Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chen Yiban slowly loosened his hands that were originally clasped across his chest. Next, I will show you, what is the power of Uchiha Madara, the power of God. The real, Susanoo. Complete form. With his eternal Mangekyō Sharingan open, which was as eerie as blood, Chen Yiban had a grim expression on his face. Even, the next second directly, Zheng Hu. The terrifying pupil power combined with the unparalleled powerful chakra, blue power madly surged out from Chen Yiban's body. Shua Zheng. Certainly. In an instant, a Susanoo complete form with a body size of more than 230 meters was seen standing between heaven and earth. Appear in front of everyone in Konoha. The size of Susanoo's complete form is so huge that even if you stand at the outermost part of Konoha village, you can still see its enormous size. With the two eternal Mangekyō Sharingan together, Susanoo is now fully formed, and its size is now over 230 meters. It was nearly 100 meters higher than the 140 meters when there was just one eternal Mangekyō. This. At the scene, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Uikurane, Mitarashi Anko, Narashikaku, Hyuga Hayashi and countless other Konoha shinobi widened their eyes. Wow, so big! The summoning beast Katsuyu said in a daze. Jiraiya, I really have to thank your ancestors for 8 generations. The pipe that Gamabuntai had just picked up fell again. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.